welcome to your October 2021 edition of Playdate, the monthly conversational video game podcast by Now to Play Games. Today on the show, I have Tim and Keith joining me. Say hi, guys.
Yo.
Hello. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that this is, of course, the October episode, which means we are now officially in the spooky season. So I want to begin this podcast by asking you guys, what are some of your favorite Halloween memories or just general fond associations you have with Halloween?
Oh boy, I got a good one.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a good one. It was when I first moved to Texas as an itty bitty boy. I lived not too far where I'm living right now. And my mom got me the Tasmanian Tiger Looney Tunes costume.
Oh, wow.
But it was basically like the knockoff Spirit Halloween edition. So as I was trick-or-treating, it ripped all the way down the back. So I was basically trick-or-treating with my underwear exposed to the whole entire neighborhood.
I think that's an experience we've all had of the ghetto Halloween costume. Like, at least one of us 1 year has had that.
The hilarious thing is, we saw like 5 to 6 other kids with the same costume, or the same type of costume, all ripped in the back.
That's interesting, because if I saw that today, that would be like what happened with the Tasmanian Tiger, or whatever it's called. Like, yeah, was that just a trend that year? Did Space Jam just come out or something?
I don't think it was... No, because I think I was 10 when Space Jam came out. This one wasn't like... I was like, maybe 3, 4?
Uh-huh. Because normally with Halloween, you can tell what the trends are going to be coming up. Like, I didn't experience anything Halloween last year for obvious reasons, but the year before, I think Harley Quinn was the big thing that year, and you saw like 12 million Harley Quinns just wandering the streets.
I think you'll see that every year from now on.
Yeah, she's an icon now for sure, if she wasn't before. Tim, what about you?
Like, Harley Quinn, I think, is just like is going to be like the default skimpy girl outfit.
Right, it's replaced the cat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, if you want to talk about things that are really, truly scary during the October and even through to the November months, it's your local Starbucks.
Right. Are you a big coffee guy? I didn't notice
No.
about you. Oh, okay.
No, I am not, but where I work right now is, at a university, by a Starbucks.
Right.
So if I'm working any morning shifts, I just hope I don't have to deal with pumpkin spice mobs.
Yeah. You can smell it in the air. You know what I mean? You can sense them coming from a mile away. Starbucks isn't a huge thing over here, but it's definitely becoming a bigger thing. It's one of those just like America thing that infected Europe and is now like, we just pretend we all like pumpkin spice lattes the whole time.
That's our revenge for you infecting us.
God damn it. For me, I generally like dislike Halloween as a holiday. I think it's one of the lowest tier holidays. We'd want to do a tier list sometime of annual holidays. Halloween would be pretty low for me. But I do have a very wholesome memory of when I was in primary school, and I was like young enough to not realize it was Halloween, and so I just wandered in my school uniform, and all the other kids were dressed up, and I just felt so bad. And the teacher was wearing her costume, and it was just like basic Grim Reaper, like skeleton face shroud, and I was like a crybaby as a kid, so I was crying in the corner that I was the only one with like a costume, and so the teacher gave me hers, and I felt like a boss that entire day, because it was easily the best costume. And that just stuck with me. It was like, okay, Halloween almost redeemed. And also just the food, like candy apples, toffee apples, stuff like that, and just candy in general is great. Great excuse.
Yeah, I will say though, like, as an adult, it has definitely gone down in the tier list for me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, definitely.
Because, and especially like, because I don't think any of us here are the type to. If you're not the type to go out and get drunk and party on Halloween night, then Halloween isn't like anything for you as an adult.
Right.
Unless you have like children
Kids.
or nephews or nieces or whatever that you're going out and helping to trick or treat.
I think we need to initiate adult trick-or-treating. That would bring back the holiday for me if I could still, to this day, go door to door and get free sweets that would be fantastic, but maybe that's unrealistic of me, I don't know. But yeah, the food, man.
Other than that, like, if you're in the spirit of it, decorating is fun.
Yeah. Some people
the
like.
thing is-
I like the color orange. The color orange gets underrated, but it comes out in full droves Halloween. Respect it.
Oh yeah, definitely. But the big thing is if you're not into decorating, it's kind of a chore because the only thing you really allowed to do as an adult is take kids out to trick or treat, go party in costumes, or decorate your house and hand out candy to little kids.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, the first two, I don't like kids. I don't
like
want them
kids,
coming to my
but
door.
I'm totally like, I can't believe I became that guy where you're going around trick-or-treating and you see the house with no decorations. Like, that house is lame. I bet there's no candy there. We'll not even knock the door. And I'm that guy where it's like, please don't come to my house. I hate you all. Just get away.
Please don't go away.
Other than that, like, on Halloween night is usually when I watch Nightmare Before Christmas, because I consider that much more of a Halloween movie than a Christmas movie. It gets me through that motion into, like, sort of the Christmas spirit, but there's like 5 minutes of Christmas in that movie. It's a Halloween movie.
Yeah.
It's a mix of both.
No, it's a Halloween movie. I won't move on that.
God, now we're just gonna have the fucking Die Hard discussion, aren't we?
No, I'm not going to get into a debate over Nightmare Before Christmas.
We'll have that in the December episode, the Die Hard debate. But as a reminder, this is Playdate, our monthly podcast where we love playing games so much that we talk about them in all three tenses, past, present, and future. And on this month's spectacular October edition, I, of course, have devised a devilishly delightful game to get us in the spirit of the season. And then, at the tail end of the show, as always, we'll be taking a look at the games coming out this month, with a focus on those that catch our eye and send shivers down our spine. But first, we must begin by discussing what we have been playing, and today we're starting off with Tales of Arise, which Keith has platinumed?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Tell me about Tales of Arise, because you were very excited going into this game. Seemingly it matched your expectations, yes?
Oh, it has definitely met and exceeded my expectations. As with most action RPGs, yes, it does not put its best foot forward in terms of the action, but it considerably compounds upon it as you get further into the game.
Is it an action-heavy RPG? Is it turn-based, more traditional? Because I know nothing about the Tales series.
It's very much action-based. It's... think of it a little bit of Devil May Cry with a slight bit of lag to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very much like got the standard Bandai Namco action speed, which is, for all intents and purposes, much slower than a lot of the higher end action games.
Mm-hmm.
Also, and Keith can kind of go in more detail on this because I only played the demo, but it also has a resource system that you are very dependent on for doing any sort of extended combat.
Mm-hmm. So, as Tim said, there is a resource system. It's your action points, or AP. It's the little stars above your health bar. And as you progress through the game, you get more of them, as you also get more auto attacks to add into your combo. But the thing about the AP system is, if on the side there's the boost strike system, which you have your six full party members, and as they do attacks and abilities, that bar fills up, and you can do a boost strike, which has special effects on certain enemies depending on what type they are. I'm not going to go through that whole entire spiel on what each person does.
Mm-hmm.
But the best thing about it is you can use that to extend your combos, because it will, 1, refill AP when you use it, and 2, allow you to reset your auto attack combo. So it's basically comes into terms of juggling between characters to do combos. And if you press, I don't remember which button it is right now because I don't have the controller in my hand and I don't have the game up.
Muscle memory.
Yeah, you basically press your character for boost strike, and if you press, I believe, L1 and that same button, you switch to them automatically, and you can continue doing combos with them.
Mm-hmm.
So you can switch up which character you're using to juggle.
Mm-hmm. So it seems like it's all about managing characters, trying to chain as many attacks as possible together and maximize your damage output.
Maximize your damage output and considerably dodge, because dodging will interrupt everything pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Or not dodging, but getting hit will interrupt a lot of your stuff.
Yeah. You described it as Devil May Cry with a bit of lag. Was that because of any performance issues you had, or was it just generally like a slower paced version of that combat?
It's a slower paced version. A lot of your inputs for your arts or your special skills have to be queued up. You can change the queue length in your settings to short or long. And basically, if you wanted to have more action pace like I do, you take it to short. Because if you press X and it does, I don't know, Searing Gale or something, and you press another button, you'll have to wait until Searing Gale is finished before that other one's queued up and goes.
Right. Got it. I think there was a lot of talk, I heard, maybe I was misinformed, and going into this game that it has all the potential to be the best in the series. How do you think this stacks up to other Tales games? Would you consider it the best?
So far, yes, I consider it the best. Unless we're misled by something, I consider this to be one of the best Tales of RPGs. Overtaking Abyss for me.
Was that a story spoiler? The misunderstood thing, or like, yeah?
No, not the misunderstood thing. It's I'll put it this way. There's not going to be anyone upset with the story. Okay. It definitely doesn't pull any Ni no Kuni bullshit.
Don't know what that means. I feel like I ask this with every RPG, but is Tales like completely distinct from each other game-wise, or is there some shared connected elements?
So the Tales of games are usually standalone projects, much like Final Fantasy, but also like Final Fantasy. Like you have your Final Fantasy X-2s, your Final Fantasy at the After Years and stuff like that. There are stories that do connect with each other, like Zestiria and Berseria are in the same time.
Right. Tell me about the characters and the relationships between them. I always find RPGs, specifically JRPGs, are some of the best when it comes to like forming bonds between characters and really caring about them. How is that in this game?
You tend to notice a lot of the bonds forming throughout the story. Everybody, understandably, because of how it's no spoiler, it's been said in trailers, it's been said, it's like right at the beginning, Renans and Danans hate each other because the Renans have taken over the Danan homeworld and have basically enslaved everyone.
Right.
And so Danans will hate Renans. Renans will hate Danans and think they're inferior.
Mm-hmm.
And they tend to... that tends to be shown a lot in your characters because you have two Renans in your party. Everybody else is Danan, and everybody hates the Renans.
Mm-hmm. So how does that really play into the story? Like, obviously no spoilers, but how did the characters grow across the story? Did it end up being satisfying for you? Was there something like maybe you could have got more out of it? Maybe you could have touched on different things? Because like I just said, I feel like RPGs do really well in that regard, but can sometimes fall just short of the mark, where you think they're building something and just shy away at the very end. Is this anything like Tales of Arise or anything to that degree?
So Tales of Arise, it takes a little bit of the cliche method, but I'm not gonna lie, cliches are usually some of the best forms. That's the reason why they're cliches.
Mm-hmm.
And they're tropes. Everybody does tend to come together at the end. New relationships are formed. People tend to understand each other a little bit better as the story goes on, understand each other's plight, what people are doing, why they're doing. And a fun mechanic that ties into that is, you see those bonds forming throughout the story, but you can get extra hints on those bonds forming by watching the skit that will appear.
Love that. Like
as you're traveling, you can press the R1 button and a skit will appear. They're fully voice acted. They're the bit of the Scarlet Nexus cinematic anime-ish panels.
Okay.
Done in 3D.
Yeah.
They're nice. I like them. They're a big changed far and away from the skits of the old Tales of Arise, which was just a little face panel that flapped its mouth.
Yeah. It sounds a little bit like Fire Emblem support dialogues, or like Valkyria Chronicles. I think they're called supports in that as well. But I
would
love
say
that stuff.
Pretty similar.
Right.
Yeah, pretty similar to that.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, you can, when you camp out in the overworld, sometimes, like after a certain point in the story, you can start talking to your party members there.
Mm-hmm.
And you can talk with one person per night. And you eventually build a relationship meter to max, in which will unlock a special skill, special panel, stuff like that. And you can further see how their story grows with each other.
I know how these things go. The JRPGs, man, building that support to max, like, now kiss.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and then you can also have like characters cook shit, and main guy can't cook for shit because he can't taste for shit.
Oh.
So he serves people like overspiced burnt chicken.
That's pretty funny. I hope there's an arc that he figures out how to cook food, even if he can't taste it.
So there is an arc. There's no spoiler to it because it's basically the culmination of relationship with each other. You learn the pancake recipe by doing a side quest. And then you get another side quest to cook pancakes. So you cook the pancakes, and everybody has a pancake cooking contest. The characters go through, they each kind of screw up on their pancakes. Shion, the main lady of the group, who uses the gun, has pink hair, makes overly sweet pancakes using like triple the day's worth of sugar that you're supposed to have. And everybody's like, yeah, no, you lose.
Pancakes seems like one of the easiest things to not mess up, though. Like in real life.
Yeah, it seems like it,
yeah.
but...
You say that, but are you saying that with like Bisquick and other quick mix pancake batters in mind, or are you saying that with like from scratch pancakes?
Well, you never. I don't think I've made from scratch pancakes. Like, why would you bother? Just go with what's there, you know. Shake a
So then they
pancake.
are easy to fuck up.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever. But you know what? Yeah. Okay. I guess Tales of Rise World doesn't have the shake bottle thing.
Yeah.
So fair play to that. You mentioned tropes, though. Like, that's something that does get me in a lot of these games. I feel like it can be very useful to very quickly get the rundown on characters, especially if there's a lot of them on the screen at one time, and just easily make them like stand for different personality traits or different belief value systems, and have those compete with each other in interesting ways. Are there any points in the game where the tropes get on your nerves, or do you think it's done quite well? Because I've definitely experienced a few RPGs that I feel like really nail it, but others just completely fall on their face and drown under the weight of their own tropes.
I think they did the tropes pretty well. You got Alphen, the main character, who's basically a himbo.
Nice. Love to see it.
He's a lovable idiot with a heart of gold, essentially. But that also applies a little bit to all the male characters. They're like equally dumb, and it's great. Like everybody's so dumb.
Like this podcast. Do you get to pick your party, or is it a sort of thing where you're playing different characters for different sections?
So for the first few things, as they're slowly introducing characters, yeah, your party is a little bit set. Usually, you start off with Alphen, then you get Shion, then you get another party member, and another party member, another party member. But once you're past a certain point, you have all the party members, which is Chapter 3. Yeah, Chapter 3-ish. You can mix and match everybody how you like it. You can set your team up pretty much any way you want.
Do you have any go-to party members, and if so, why them?
So I tend to go with what's easiest to button map onto my my burst system, because as I said, everybody has a unique mechanic with their burst. I like to set Alphen as my main attacker because he's just absurd when it comes to comboing and sacrificing his own HP to do massive damage. I have Shion, which is your healer and your bird destroyer. Dohalim, which is another healer,
Hold on.
but he uses earth.
Bird destroyer?
Yeah.
Because she has a gun.
She has a gun. And her burst strike is any flying enemies. If you push her burst strike, she'll knock them down with a giant cannon blast.
Okay.
It's like this old meme in Persona, or at the very least with Persona 5. If you see something with wings, it's most likely weak to gun.
Right. Okay. I see that. Yeah.
And I have Dohalim, who uses earth magic, and if there's any like runny, speedy enemies that you can't hit, he can bind them to the ground and slow them down.
Excellent.
And my last party member in my main setup is Rinwell. She is your mage, and if anybody is casting a spell, you press her burst start, and she steals that magic from them and can use it against them. And interrupts their spells.
How long is this game?
So...
Not as long as Persona 5.
Okay.
Not as long as Persona 5. I'm going to grant you that. It took me 80 hours to platinum.
Not terrible.
That's with it can be done in one playthrough. However, the only reason why it took me 80 hours is because I put my PlayStation in the rest mode while in the game, and when I came back to it, trophies weren't popping up for nearly the whole entire second half of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to redo the game.
At that point, I would quit. That would make me so mad.
Well, you beat the game, what, in like 60 hours? And then you just, like, within a day or whatever, went and beat the game again?
So what happens is I beat the game and went through the main story. And after the main story, there is post-game dungeons and stuff like that to do. So I went ahead and did all the post-game dungeons, got to level 100, got all the secret weapons, did all the side quests. And then I went through and played up to the section which was near the end of the game, sadly. I played all the way up to that near the end of the game in like 4 hours.
You're a trooper.
At level 100, skipping all the cutscenes and
Was that New
skipping
Game
all the
Plus?
side quests.
Or,
New Game Plus,
right,
yeah.
Right, got it.
I was level 100, so I was one-hitting pretty much everything.
So not terrible in terms of RPGs I've seen. Pretty digestible in terms of the genre. The reason I ask is because I feel like this game had a lot of unusually high buzz around it before release, and I feel like that translated well in sales. I think it was 1 million copies in the first however many days. It's fastest selling in the series, so I think it's pretty safe to say that this did attract a lot of either not people who haven't played Tales or just non-JRPG fans. It did attract a lot of people, and was definitely something that if I had the time I probably would have jumped into already myself, even though I haven't played a single Tales game. Do you think this is a good introduction for people to the sort of Tales series, the Tales mechanics, Tales lore? Does it bode itself well to new players?
Yes, it does. It's very easily accessible. I personally feel the button layout is a little bit weird, but you can remap your whole entire controller if you feel it's weird.
That's good, yeah.
But I play with the default because once you get used to the default, it's just muscle memory and, how muscle memory works.
It's nice, but it's also very important for accessibility as well, so I'm glad to see that. So yeah, it sounds like it's a nice experience for new players. And yeah, like, obviously the games are all pretty disconnected, so there's no story baggage that they have to look up or play through before they jump into this. So it seems like it's pretty set up for people to just jump right in, which is good. Now that you've platinumed the game, have you set it down? Are you going to leave it? Are you going to jump back in through any post-game content or another playthrough, or is that you finished?
I think I'm done with it for now. It might be one of those games that I come back to every now and again just to, feel a little bit powerful in a New Game Plus playthrough.
Right. Tales of Arise Definitive Edition comes out, you're there.
I'm definitely there if a definitive comes out.
Yeah. So yeah, it sounds good. Any final thoughts now that you've left this game, either in terms of where you want to see the series go next, or anything that sort of stuck with you after you rolled credits?
It's one of the few games that made me cry. So yeah, it has a nice permanent place upon the shelf of good games.
Name another game that's made you cry. I want to know what makes Keith cry in terms of story.
Oh, jeez.
If you can name one off the top of your head, it might be hard to.
Yeah, it's hard to name them off the top of my head.
Any game has made me cry ever. And like I play a lot of games. I'm just not like once I was an adult. I said I was a crybaby as a kid. I'm like the opposite now.
Red Dead Redemption 2 made me cry.
Oh, okay. See where your head's at. All right. Tim, any questions about Tales of Rise? You were probably like watching in Discord as he was playing because you guys tend to do that a lot. Oh, okay.
So I actually forgot, and I'm not going to go too in depth on it because, you know, people have played the game. It's been out for like 10 plus years. While he was doing that, because I didn't want spoilers, I was just like off on my own replaying Arkham Asylum.
Oh, okay.
And let me tell you, that game actually still holds up pretty well, and I beat it 100%.
Love to hear it. But any questions about Tales of Rise before we move on to our next game of the show?
No, I've gotten a good amount out of him as far as convincing me to pick it up and go past what the demo had available, because I think I'm the one that kind of coined this idea that Keith brought up earlier of action games don't put their best foot forward. Like, while demos are a great way to sell games, they don't sell action games the best.
Look at you, Final Fantasy Origins.
Well, so that actually did a pretty good job, but that's because it's very Dark Souls, which is supposed to be bare bones in its combat style. I'm looking more at things like Nier Automata.
Right.
Nier Automata has easily become a favorite game for me, along with Replicant. Like, I love those games.
Yeah.
I did not play Nier Automata for years because I hated its guts because the demo does the worst job of selling you on that game.
Right.
Because it's only the intro to the game up to the first boss, which has like no save points, no continue points, no checkpoints, which also, I will say, makes the game a bitch if you're playing it on hard. Because you could die in like a single hit with no checkpoints, and that opening section is like a half hour long.
Right.
So
that was interesting because the Nier Automata demo was like, that hit really hard for me. I thought that was one of my favorite demos ever at the time. Like, I really loved that demo.
I think for me it's also because I tend to play games on harder difficulties, and Nier is a series that is going to whoop your ass for picking hard.
I guess, yeah. I definitely didn't play that game or the demo on hard. I still haven't got around to playing the full game yet. One of the infinitely
It'll be a long play.
Yeah. Was there a demo for Scarlet Nexus that came out before it released?
Yes,
that you played?
there was.
Because you were down on that game for a long time, and I think I don't know if you played it since.
Yeah,
but the reviews
I played,
for that game were pretty good, and they end up.
I played the demo and immediately said to myself, "Shit, this game's gonna score well," because it had kind of escaped Bandai Namco's legacy of, I wouldn't say bad, but very, very mediocre action games. I'm looking at things like Code Vein and the Dragon Ball Xenoverses and whatnot, which all have like pretty bland, I would say, and Keith, you might agree with me on this, very stiff combat.
And so what did the Tales of Rise demo do for you then? Was it encouraging? Was it a bit disheartening?
It's one of those things where I'm not used to Tales as a franchise, and it's very much a different system from most of the action games I play. Like, I have not played a game with buffered inputs since Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
What does that mean exactly, buffered inputs?
So that's what Keith was explaining, where basically, like, you can hit a series of buttons and it creates a list in the game's logic, essentially, that says, when this move finishes, do this one, then this one, then this one, then this one.
Right, so you're
which that is the lag.
Yeah. I see. Interesting. Yeah, so attacks have to happen in sequence. Right, okay, I think I've got that now. That is interesting. And definitely not something I see in most modern games.
Yeah, and like even fighting games, most of the time they want you timing your inputs for where it's supposed to be precisely. But back with like Marvel vs. Capcom 3, it was combos were going so fast that it was just like, all right, I'm just going to hit all of these buttons and then watch it kind of play out on screen.
Yeah.
You had to be kind of like a second ahead of where your character was on screen with your inputs.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. So that did that turn you off a bit, or was it just confusing?
It was a little confusing, and actually there was one question I had for Keith, because I definitely did it during the demo, and I have to wonder if he did it, one, during the demo, and two, if it extended into the game at all. Were there any times where you were wandering around and you intended to like bring up a menu or something, and instead you accidentally hit the wrong button, activated a skit?
No comment.
Okay. Point proven. Point proven.
But you can remap
So,
the
yeah.
controls so you don't do that, because that's on you then.
Yeah, well, but then you remap the controls and then you go to hit the right button and now it's the wrong button.
Yeah. You've finally gotten used to it and you're like, oh, damn it, I changed it. I need to change it back, but that's more confusing.
Yeah.
I had previously come off a game where R1 was to sprint.
Right, that's the worst.
So
feeling.
I was using R1, trying to use R1 to sprint instead of R2.
That's the worst feeling when you're playing two games almost in parallel at the same time and you just can't rewire your brain to the other game. And they mesh.
As we know, I mean, not everyone else knows, but they'll know now. We'll get into Genshin later, but that is a funny thing for me going between Nier and Genshin. Is Nier uses R2 as its dodge and sprint button, whereas Genshin uses R1.
Right.
So they're very similar, but they're just different enough
So close.
that it can screw you up.
Yeah. God. Gamer first world problems. So I think that's going to do it for our Tales of Rise discussion. Definitely something I want to check out before we sit down to talk about Game of the Years and stuff, because I feel like that's definitely a contender. Keith, I remember you were talking about on Twitter that so far in the year it's your Game of the Year.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
So yeah, definitely one I'm going to need to make some time for.
I have so much to catch up on.
Dude, we'll move on from that because we could. Yeah. Skyward Sword HD is definitely not a game that first released this year, but it's back. It's HD. It's on a Switch. Tim's been playing it. How's that process gone for you, Tim?
So, within the past couple of years, I did go back and try to play the original on Wii.
Right.
And I couldn't do it. I absolutely could not do it. And I don't know if that's because of like degradation of the Wii remote, not having like a bigger like living room style setup to be using it in. I don't know what it was, but the motion controls just were not cooperating with me. And I finally understood, because when I was younger, I was like, I had a fine time with the motion controls, but coming back to it and trying to play it again, I was like, how did I play this?
Right.
How, like, and so HD comes out and my brother and I have been playing it, and then I started a file by myself just so that I could do my own stuff. I'm just over the halfway point through the game at this point, and the Joy-Cons are so much better than even the Motion Plus. If anyone remembers having to have that for certain Wii games, because you needed that for Skyward Sword.
My aunt's Wii had a Motion Plus. Our Wii did not.
Yeah, so we still have the controller that came with the collector's edition of Skyward Sword, which was like a golden Wiimote with a Motion Plus just built into it already. Right. So like the Joy-Con's even better than that. And the only complaint I would have is like it feels a little weirder, because if you wanted like an analog for a sword, the longer Wiimote, like about that long, is definitely more of an analog for an actual sword handle than the tiny little Joy-Con being clenched in your fist.
As well would play into that. The Wiimote, I imagine, is a bit weightier than the Joy-Cons. So
yeah. But one of the big things they did, and this is how I've been playing it at my desk, is they finally added an option for you to play without motion controls.
That was a big, huge thing coming into the rumors for this game existing.
Yeah. So, if anyone's familiar with Metal Gear Rising, the old action game starring Raiden, the way that sword combat in Skyward Sword works for a normal controller is basically the way that it worked during the like bullet time in Metal Gear Rising, which is your slashes are controlled by the right stick.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how you move your sword around.
Not a comparison I expected to hear today, but I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just weird. It's a little weird going back to older Zelda games from Breath of the Wild, because while Breath of the Wild is not my favorite Zelda game, I definitely acknowledge a lot of the quality of life aspects that it brought to the franchise. And what the Wii games most especially did not have was camera controls that were, at the very least, effective. Skyward Sword having had basically no camera controls. Most of the time, if you were controlling the camera in a Zelda game, it was through Z targeting. You would basically turn in a direction, then Z target, and it would snap the camera behind him.
It's interesting you bring that up because a lot of people credit Skyward Sword as almost a proto Breath of the Wild in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Sort of doing things that ended up sort of coming back in Breath of the Wild in a bigger way. And so it's interesting to go back and play this now that we're in between Breath of the Wild 1 and 2 to see where sort of that inspiration came from and what the ideas were and if those still hold up.
So I will say, coming back to it on more modern hardware with better motion controls and a non-motion control scheme as well that's pretty solid, I enjoy Skyward Sword more than Breath of the Wild.
Ooh, okay. Hot take. But we allow those here.
That is because... So, what is one of the largest complaints that a lot of people who played Breath of the Wild have with it?
To open and empty. Is the
so
one
that's
effort,
one.
Right?
But the other one is... Who likes having their sword or shield break after 3 hits?
Yeah, that was the next thing I was going to say. Even the short amount that I have played of Breath of the Wild, that definitely got on my nerves.
Yeah. So there's 2 systems that I would say Skyward Sword introduced. One was durability, because your shields in Skyward Sword do have durability and they can break, but you can take them to get repaired and you can upgrade them. And also, I think in Breath of the Wild, they break even if you do a perfect parry with them.
Interesting.
Like, you only get so many.
Yeah.
But in Skyward Sword, as long as you're hitting that parry with perfect timing, you don't lose any durability on the shield.
Yeah. So rewarding
and they
you
even
for,
have a potion.
Yeah, rewarding you for good skill and
Yeah.
learning the controls well. Got it.
And then they have like a potion as well that you can carry on you that one gives you 4 hearts back, but also fully regenerates your shield's health.
Nice.
And then, your sword never has a chance to break. Which I don't like having my sword break, period, unless it lasts for a long time.
Right, it feels like a lot of unnecessary time spent in menus and inventory menus and sorting things. Which is never something you want to really do in a Zelda game. You want to sort of get out and explore and live in the world instead of living in menus. So I definitely like the sound of that for sure.
And that's the other nice thing is they have 2 different radial menus. So one radial menu for holding on to like generic items, so your bottles, your extra ammo pouches. Like the game had a system where there's like medallions you can pick up or buy from shops that have effects like monsters drop their items more frequently, or you might like have extra durability on your hearts, so basically you take less damage. And so basically you could buy more item pouches and get up to I think 8 slots on that radial menu. And then there was like a storage lady up in Skyloft who you can go to and just deposit items that you don't want to be using for the time being. So it had some of that aspect of inventory management. And then the other radial menu is for your standard like Zelda temple items, your hook shots and the flying beetle and the gust bellows and all of that kind of stuff.
Right. I sort of interrupted you as you were talking about it, so forgive me. But did you find yourself leaning towards the motion controls more, or the sort of controller-based setup?
So on initial playing with my brother when we first started playing it, I very much went more towards the motion controls.
Right.
But, you know, being that I'm sitting at a desk most of the time when I'm, you know, doing stuff by myself, I don't have the room to be swinging motion controls all over the place. So I pretty quickly got used to the controller controls. I think I would potentially... I think it just depends on my environment. I think if I'm in an open environment without a lot of people around, not only do the motion controls have a nice novelty, but they do have a natural, like, sense of flow to them. Because, you know, it was a very much like your sword went where you were slashing kind of game. And then also bumping with the shield is like a lot more intuitive with just pumping your fist out, your left hand, and then slashing with your right. Whereas it's kind of weird to be Z-targeting an enemy and then click in your left stick to bump with the shield and then start slashing all over the place with your right thumb.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely not how the game was intended. I think they were sort of upfront with that when they were demoing the game, but it's definitely, I think, necessary at this point to have that, at least as an option. You can play whatever way you feel like the intended way to play is, if that matters to you. Just coming into my head now, actually, like, because you mentioned the differences between the Joy-Cons and the Wii controllers, I definitely feel like, depending on how animated it is, which I've never played Skyward Sword either way, so I don't know, but like, I feel like you're much more likely to throw away a Joy-Con at the TV screen because it slips out your hand than a heavy Wiimote that's like got grip on it. And I know it has like little tied-in things, but like I never used those.
Oh, trust me. So I never threw a Wiimote at a TV.
You just drop that, see, slips out your hand.
Yeah.
Called it.
And so that's the thing. One, I can tell you that they do slip out of your hands, though. And I have always worn these since. Even if I don't, like, fully tighten the band, if I'm doing something that's, like, heavy motion activity, and actually, I haven't used them with the Joy-Cons now that I think about it. But I also think I'm not as worried about the Joy-Cons breaking something if I throw them.
Right, yeah,
because they're not anywhere near as dense as a
little dinky
Wiimote.
things, like, they might bounce off and just go right back into your hand.
Yeah. But there was a time back when we first got our Wii, because my brother has, throughout the years, played a few Madden games. And so we had whatever the first Madden game was on the Wii, and I was playing that with him. And I went to kick a field goal. And so I wrench up on the Wiimote because that was the motion for it. And I'm wearing the wrist strap, and the Wiimote goes out of my hand, full spins around, and then smacks me like right in the head.
Oh my god.
So yeah, those things did slip out of your hands. Some of the sleeves that they developed over time, though, were better about keeping them in your hand.
Yeah, they had those big warnings every time you started the Wii, and we just didn't listen.
The only issue with the bands that came with the Wiimotes is they looked like giant rubber condoms to put over your Wiimote.
They really, really did.
Oh, yeah.
They were so, what's the word?
Like so phallic.
Yeah, big.
Yeah, I was going to say, you guys remember the newer ones they made, the like fully clear ones where it was like super bulbous around
those
the thing?
Were the ones I had. Pleasure devices for sure. But yeah, getting back to Skyward Sword, obviously, aside from the motion control stuff and how it plays, this is Skyward Sword HD, right? How does this look? Does it feel like you're still looking at a Wii game? Does the Switch bring anything new to it? Does it feel like it could stand up to today's games? Does the art style hold up?
Yeah, it has a stylized art style that holds up in the same way that like Kingdom Hearts or Wind Waker
I feel
or
like
any of those other games
Wind Waker
kind of hold up
in 50 years' time because just how full of charm it is in its art style. And Skyward Sword seems like
works
a little bit towards more the realistic side, but not really. It's still very cartoony. So
yeah, and I would actually say even Twilight Princess still holds up, and Skyward Sword is basically like art style wise the midpoint between Wind Waker and Skyward Sword. It's very much where Breath of the Wild's art style came from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good to hear. One of the few things I know about Skyward Sword is players tend to enjoy cutting the grass a lot, and when you do cut the grass, it's basically like an empty, barren world. And that can look a bit strange. I don't know if that's something you do, but I've definitely heard a few gaming podcasts where it's like, yeah, my wife keeps getting angry at me cutting all the grass because it just makes the world look less pretty.
I mean, that's Zelda games in general, though. Like,
just
lawn
like
mowing is a side business to get money
on your path to adventure.
There's no like just not even since Ocarina of Time, since at the very least A Link to the Past.
Yeah.
Cutting grass has been a source of income.
Yeah, cutting grass, destroying jars, causing havoc.
Yeah, it's you run lawn mowing and demolition as side businesses.
So in terms of the story, obviously huge part of any Zelda game. Do you feel like this is one that for the Zelda fan base that like this is a must play to get the most out of the series, or is it a story you can sort of brush aside? I think I heard something about like this villain being really beloved in this game.
So I think for a lot of people, in terms of like a romance, this is a lot of people's favorite romance story for Zelda and Link.
Right.
And that's because I think it's actually the only Zelda game that Nintendo has developed where Link and Zelda have an established relationship before you start the game. Mm-hmm. The only other one that I can think of was not developed by Nintendo, but by Capcom, and that was the Minish Cap on the Game Boy.
I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah, that's a really good Zelda game, even though it's not by Nintendo. Mm-hmm. It's probably one of my favorites.
Yeah.
But
for some reason I thought you were going to say like the CDI games. Or the
Oh Jesus, please
I was
no.
like when you said like Zelda game not developed by Nintendo, that was the first thing my mind went to. And I was like, okay, he's going for it here.
I just forget that those exist.
Yeah.
Honestly. It's probably better that
they've
way.
been remastered.
Have they really? Like, can you buy
Yes.
those on PCs now? Or something?
Let me check. I think it's on Switch.
Oh, really?
Lord.
How was that not a bigger story? Okay. That's interesting. I love to hear that. Because I feel like those games do have value in their own weird way. Like, it's good
from
to...
Zelda Dungeon.
Oh my God. Are they a collection? Because I might buy that collection.
Yeah, I think it was... I think the CDI remasters was revealed at E3 2021.
Oh, wow. How did I not hear about that? Okay. Anyway. Not getting bogged down in that too much, but yes.
But it's very much that standard.
Never mind. Oh. It's some guy's CDI remaster project, I think.
Okay.
Right. I definitely would have took that story if it was official, but yeah, good to see people remastering that.
So you're familiar with the trope at this point, Finn. This is basically like the only Zelda game that has essentially established a high school setting where Zelda and Link are childhood friends.
Right.
Because that's the whole premise, is like Link is a part of the Knight Academy. Like the very first thing in the game is Link has a nightmare, and then they have Loftwings, that's the birds. Link is woken up by Zelda's Loftwing, like dropping a letter like on his head through the window. And he just wakes up to this giant bird in his face looking over him from the window. And it's Zelda telling him like, hey, I knew you would be late to wake up, so like get your ass up. It's the day of the ceremony and yada, yada, yada. Nice. So stuff happens. Zelda gets taken. Link has to go save her. I think we're in safe territory for like spoilers as far as the overarching like meaning of what this game is.
Right.
Which is, this game is the first Zelda game.
Yeah, like in terms of the weird Zelda chronology. Yeah, this is the first.
Yeah. Because throughout the course of this game, you create the Master Sword. Zelda officially becomes like the reincarnation vessel, whatever you want to call it, of the goddess Hylia.
Right.
You introduce the main villain Demise, and the end result is when you beat Demise, he basically curses Link and Zelda to always be followed by his shadow.
Mm-hmm.
So every time you have a Zelda, you will have a Link, and you will have some sort of reincarnation of Demise's will, which is basically always just Ganon.
Mm-hmm.
There's even potentially the setup of the Gerudo, who are the ones that eventually lead to Ganon. And the funny thing is it's like the bully who is like really nothing compared to Link. Like, so imagine the dude that bullies Link, who then just becomes a crybaby chicken shit in the middle of the game because he realizes he can't do anything that Link can do.
Right.
And then at the end of the game, he goes off to basically like start his own life somewhere else. And then that's basically implied to be where the Gerudo start.
I haven't played Skyward Sword, but as you were bringing in that description, I immediately, because I'm going through Fate stuff despite my best interests, and so I'm immediately thinking of Shinji Mato. That's all I'm thinking of when I hear the description of that guy.
Yeah, basically. But imagine if he had like, it's not a pompadour, but it's like a big red spike. Like he has a red haircut and a big spike at the front.
Yeah, I think I know what guy you're talking. Like the design of this guy, I've seen him before.
Yeah,
so that's
his name's Groose.
Groose. Yeah, I definitely have seen him. Interesting take. So yeah, obviously this is like the first in the chronology, and then Breath of the Wild 2, the little that we saw of it seems to be implying that we're aiming towards the sky in this one, so maybe worth like Zelda fans who maybe missed out on this in the Wii era or whatever, going back just for posterity, just for checking some things out that might be relevant in Breath of the Wild 2.
Yeah, I think that there's a pretty solid chance that we'll end up seeing references to like Skyloft and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of the nature of it, because like Skyward Sword revolves around all of the Hylians, all of the humans essentially, are up in the sky. None of them are down on Earth. So they have no idea that Earth like exists. They don't go below the clouds. And all of the like Gorons and Koroks and like all of the normal Zelda creatures just live down on the surface and have no idea that humans are a thing. Like when Link comes down, everyone's like, what the fuck? There's another one? What's with these people? Are you with the Bokoblins? Like, who the hell are these things?
Right.
And so it may very much be like going back to the sky for Breath of the Wild 2.
Yeah, I feel it's very clear why they chose this game to remaster for the 25th anniversary and leading up to the Breath of the Wild sequel that we're all anticipating.
Definitely.
Rate the dungeons in this game. I feel like Zelda games can be defined by how good their dungeons are for a large part.
So the earlier dungeons are pretty short. Like they're not hard to figure out. I need to go through this last half of the game to re-experience the later game dungeons. Mm-hmm. But there is one boss that I remember, and I think it's the boss of the dungeon that I'm going into, if I'm remembering correctly, where like it actually gets fairly difficult as you go later into the game, because they're basically operating on the idea of, okay, you've made it this far, you're probably pretty comfortable with how this game controls and the logic behind it. And like, if you can think, which god is it in Hindu mythology? Is it, it's not Shiva. Who has like all of the arms?
A lot of them have a lot of arms. I think you're referring to Kali? Maybe?
Might be. But basically, like, one of the bosses is like a 6-armed robot that has swords, and a lot of the combat in this game involving swords is very much like, I'm going to block one side or I'm going to block like 2 sides, and you have to cut through the middle. So it's definitely like interesting in that sword play in this game feels more involved.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the sword is actually something you have to learn how to use. It's not just, I'm going to sit here and mash a button.
Mm-hmm. Anything else to say on Skyward Sword then before we move on to talk about Lemnis Gate?
I don't think so. I would just say go play it if you haven't played it before, because now's the time.
Yeah, perfect time. But also, it's never the perfect time because there's too many games. Speaking of which, here's another game being fired at you. Literally released 2 days ago, I think, on Game Pass. And I've been playing it.
And I haven't even heard of it.
Lemnis Gate. So you have heard of this game because I remember distinctly us two, our eyes widening at the premise introduced by the trailer it was shown at one event. So maybe this is jogging memory. Lemnis Gate is a turn-based time loop first-person shooter. So me not being into online multiplayer shooter games at all, like most shooters that come up look quite samey to me.
Rip Overwatch.
Rip Overwatch, right. So I'm not really interested. The premise of this one was so interesting to me that I had to at least try it. And I can say that I'm very excited by what I have played of Lemnis Gate. It's very fun. So the core idea is there's a few different kinds of game modes, but the normal game mode you're playing is a 1v1 shooter thing. So like the main game mode would be domination, right? Standard in most shooters where you're capturing 3 points and whoever has the most points at the end wins. Instead of standing by it in this game, you shoot the points to capture them. And the way it works is essentially I take my turn first. I choose from a wheel which hero I want to play as this round. Mostly based off of what you've experienced in other games, right? There's a character called Rush, which is exactly Tracer. There are like people who set up turrets. Like most of the tropes that you know from other hero-based shooters are in this game, and you'll be familiar with them, which I think is intentional because they're already introduced like a whole new way of playing the game here. They don't want to introduce too many new mechanics and hero-based shooter mechanics. But I choose my character. I have 30 seconds to play my loop. I go out and try and capture as many points as possible, and then the loop ends. Then the enemy person takes his turn. My character from the first round redoes their loop, runs around the thing, do what they did, or what I controlled them to do in the first round. They try and stop me, if at all possible, while also capturing the points. We take turns back and forth. The layers build on each other to where at the very end of the game, there are 5 different loops happening on each team, all influencing one another. Games can turn on their heads very quickly if you shoot the right people at the right time. It can get very, very hectic. The closest thing I can sort of draw a comparison to is it's a mix between Overwatch and chess, right? It's very chess heavy where you're trying to plan several moves ahead. I was very interested when I saw this trailer to see if this mechanic would play it well, and I am having a blast playing this game so far.
So as I'm looking it up, I do remember this. And so the first thing I have to ask is, because you kind of just said it, is this game 5D chess with multiversal time travel?
Yes.
So it is.
At the beginning, you actually, when you're being introduced to the game and you're not quite good at it yet, you feel like this game is a bit easier than the premise would suggest. But once you get into the intricacies of which characters are good for which scenarios, how different matchups relate to each other, what character should I pick if I'm trying to take down a certain person, basically from turn 1 you're trying to plan the whole game in advance. And obviously it's not just like simple turn-based like chess. There are multiple different elements that could be going on. I actually think that maybe could have been explored a bit more. Like there's not many level-based hazards. There's not like things happening around you. You're basically just focusing on what you and the enemy person is doing, other than like don't fall in this hole. So there's not really any hazards to avoid. But definitely it's interesting because that's what I actually like about the domination game mode, where it's shoot the points to capture them, which means there's live fire going across the battlefield at all times. I've definitely shot myself literally in previous loops because my sniper could be like positioned trying to take a point, and I accidentally run in front of him and shoot my own guy, and that completely knocks my game off. Or I've done things where I've shot my own guy intentionally to knock off the other person, right? So like you have one guy that's out there, he's running around, he's capturing points. The enemy plans to take them down and capture off of them. But if I shoot my guy quick enough, then his enemies that he sent out is useless because they're all going for the wrong guy now. And the points are all in different positions. It's so bizarre, and by the time you're on the 5th round, you have no idea what's going on, and you just throw things at the wall and hope something sticks. But
sounds like fun.
Yeah, there's so much depth in this game.
So, this to me, I think, is always the ultimate answer on any review, which is, so you're playing it on Game Pass, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it worth $20?
I would say I probably wouldn't have paid the $20 before I went in, but now that I know what I know, and if I could like talk to myself from the past, like it was a time loop, I would definitely tell myself to pay $20 for this game, were it not on Game Pass. But it was definitely very nice to have played the beta, know I was going into this game, and to get my friends on board easier. Since they all have Game Pass as well, it was easier to convince them to play with me. I had 2 friends that I was playing with earlier today that might not have picked it up otherwise, just because money concerns or just not wanting to make that investment without knowing much. And it is a game that sort of went under the radar, which I think having a similar name to Splitgate did not help it. Because Splitgate has taken off right now, and I feel like Lemnis Gate has fallen under the radar quite a bit.
Though Splitgate, though I don't like everything they've done with it, Splitgate is still an amazing game and a great like successor to Halo for people that miss classic like competitive Halo.
Yeah, right. Taking nothing at all away from Splitgate, but these are 2 very distinct games doing 2 very distinct things, and I feel like one clearly got in above the other. And it's a little bit disappointing because even like the matches I have been playing, I've been mostly playing with friends, but it was evident on day one that the matchmaking queues were taking too long, and that was because of a lack of people playing it. So I mentioned the standard game is 1v1 based, and that was by intention because I think the studio Ratloop is a very small studio, very limited marketing budget, and so they were going in with the intent that in 1v1s it's very easier to get a match quicker than a 5v5 traditional team-based shooter, so they had that in mind. But even when you're going up to the 2v2 game modes, queues can take anywhere from between 3 and I've experienced up to 10 minutes. So,
man,
yeah, it's definitely feeling like this game is struggling a little bit because of lack of player base. Again, I do think that having 1v1s help with that, and that's probably the way I like to play the game anyway. But I hope that this game does take off because it has enough interesting ideas that I think people would really enjoy it if they just tried it.
So, big question. So when is it only out on PC?
To my knowledge.
Okay.
I'm gonna look that up.
How is the interplay between between do we just want to say Xbox Live and Steam?
So, I don't know if there is any crossplay between Xbox Live and Steam. That may be another factor as to why it was taking so long to get in queues. I definitely think I saw less. So I looked on day one, I looked at the subreddit and the Steam forums for the game to see what was going on with match queues. And I definitely saw more of the complaining about queue times on the Reddit, which was multi-platform, than the Steam forums, which is obviously talking about the Steam version of the game. So maybe this is just an issue with people who really wanted this game just buying it on Steam as opposed to trying it on Game Pass. So it could be something to do with that. I don't know if it has an interplay between the two.
There is no crossplay between PC and Xbox. And so nothing between Steam and PC.
Oh, right. So it is out on most consoles. It's out on Xbox One, Series X, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and Windows. Interesting. Yeah.
And like, what do we just call Microsoft's, like, what do you call having Xbox games on PC as far as like cross-play is concerned? You know what I mean?
I don't know. I feel like they're going to make a big push for that with Windows 11. That seems to be like gaming, and the Xbox app seems to be a big focus for them, so maybe it'll become clear. But I definitely feel like playing multiplayer games on Xbox Game Pass for PC, I definitely feel like a very closed off community with most games. Now, if you're playing something first party or something a bit bigger, there's a pretty good expectation that you're going in with cross-play features and having access to a whole player base, but it definitely does get a kick in the ass when you're dealing with a smaller game like this that you sort of need players to enjoy to its full potential.
Yeah.
I also, I believe Splitgate is free too, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, Splitgate is free.
So that's what's helping Splitgate as well, is it's free to play.
Yeah. I think that's... I don't know how Game Pass deals work, but I think that's maybe the intent that Lemnis Gate were going with, where they can't be free, at least at launch, but they could at least go on Game Pass to try and get more people in there.
Yeah.
Don't know if that's going to work for them.
Have you been queuing in casual matches?
Yes, I haven't tried ranked at all in this game yet.
Okay, because I'm seeing a technical negative review on Steam where they say matchmaking is quick if you choose ranked. Seems to be a casual queue bug going on.
Interesting. Yeah. It could just be a launch thing. It could be servers. It could be any number of things. I definitely said to myself on day one, I'm just going to leave it a week and then see what it's like then. But I got the bug again. I went in and tried it with some friends earlier today and yesterday.
Yeah, because that would be the deciding factor for me as to whether or not I buy it is could I play with you, you know?
Yeah.
Because quite frankly, I hate the Windows games platform. I absolutely hate it.
Yeah.
Have you tried to mod anything on that platform?
Yeah, I remember when Skyrim came out on Game Pass, I was like, I'm going to try Skyrim because this is the whatever definitive enhanced edition and my Steam one's just the base edition. And so I was like, I'll try and, mod this and maybe do another playthrough. And I realized very quickly that you cannot.
Yeah, because it installs it nearly in root directories.
You can't find the game files. You cannot dig through your PC and find these game files. They don't exist.
Mm-hmm.
By the way,
that's why I can't uninstall Phantasy Star Online 2 on my PC because
I was still able to get it off.
Root. I tried. I can't.
Rip.
Taking up space.
So tell me, Finn, does there's a somewhat humorous review of the game on Steam.
Okay.
Does this summarize your feelings of it pretty well? I am the entire team, and I'm still complaining about my trash teammates.
Yes. Again, I shoot myself far too often. There's an interesting mechanic in the game where you can there's shields, bubble shields, like Winston, but if you target one of your teammates, which is just you in a past loop, you can put a bubble shield on a person and have them just run around with the shield attached to them. It's very, very hard to do, and I get mad at myself every time when I fail to do it. And I'm just like, God damn it, I had my whole plan based on me hitting the shield, and I haven't. But yeah, maybe as I get more skilled at the game, that'll be something I can rely upon a little bit more. But yeah, I definitely get mad at myself.
So from what I'm understanding...
Focus.
Yeah, hopefully. Okay, there we go. So, from what I'm understanding, basically, is it basically you're sending out waves every round?
Yeah.
Okay, so, you would send out one wave, and you would, have a guy run across the field, and then you would be sitting back here on the next wave. Would it basically be real time though? You see this guy crossing and you would have to shoot him in real time?
Yes.
During that wave?
Yeah, loops play out in real time. And they're all once you've played out loops, they're all simultaneous. And so it is a first person shooter. You're just not playing against players in real time unless you choose that mode. But for the standard mode, you're not playing against players in real time. You're playing against their past actions in previous loops. And so you're just...
Okay.
So when it's not your move, you have a little drone thing where you can fly around the battlefield and you can watch what your enemy's doing. You can plan out different ways of doing things, and you can sort of get a scope for okay, once I'm in there, this is what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to go over here, etc.
Okay, so you can see your enemy as well,
Yes.
like, so it is fully like chess, like you have a full view of the board essentially.
Yeah.
Not a you won't see them until you run across them during a loop.
No, 100%. You watch your enemy do things and you have to plan in advance. And by the time you're on the fifth loop, it just does look like a real-time multiplayer game where 5 teammates are just like scattering off into the distance and fighting each other. It looks to an onlooker, it would just look like 5 people are playing 5 different people, but it's all one people and it's just happening turn by turn.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a concept I hope, if it doesn't take off in this game, at least I hope sticks with other games, because it's probably the most fun I've had in a first-person shooter since the launch period, the honeymoon period of Overwatch. And I really hope that as I play more, people start to get on board with it, and I think I might be able to get good at this game. I don't know, maybe I'll figure out I'm trash.
I will say one of the big things that I'm seeing, because this could be another thing crippling it, for what is easily accessible right now, those system requirements are pretty high, which I would expect with a game like this. Its minimum graphics requirement is a 970.
Interesting. That's the same for Forza Horizon 5. That's the min specs for Forza Horizon 5, so that seems like a little bit disproportionate. I'm on a 1070 and I never even thought about graphical issues because it just runs perfect for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe that's something I should look at in the future, because yeah, it does seem a little bit high for what the game is doing. The game looks great, it's quite stylized and quite nice sci-fi tones, but it's not like pushing the boat out or anything. So
yeah, I wonder how intensive it is to run those loops though, and run those processes and the simultaneous actions going on every single round.
There was a bug on day one where whenever you opened the game, I actually accidentally opened 2 instances, and when I did that, my PC screamed at me.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah, maybe that's something to consider as well.
But yeah, with the card shortage right now and all of the scalping and crypto and everything, a 970 is pretty up there in terms of the list of actually available,
Yes,
accessible cards.
God, I just want one day where I don't have to think about the damn graphics card shortage and how I'm never... Because, like, this is a discussion I was having with my friend the other night. I was like, as soon as I bite the bullet and buy the expensive graphics card, the next day we found, like, shitloads of silicon and they're all half price.
Dude, that was me with my 2060. I bought it and then, like, a month later it dropped $100 in price. And that was during, like, the normal times.
Yeah. It just makes me so mad because I know that's going to happen. But anyway, don't want to think about that.
Technology's always a losing investment, man.
Yeah. So Lemnis Gate, I would encourage people to try if you have Game Pass and it sounds interesting to you. And I hope it does well and gets more traction. But
yeah, I will definitely pick it up if we can find out that, like, you and I could play together. Like, if there is cross connectivity between the Windows Store and Steam,
right,
then cool, all bets are off.
To be decided if that is possible. But yeah.
Yeah. That's what needs to happen for me. And I think that's what needs to happen for that game if it hasn't happened already.
Right. Greedfall is a game that Keith has been playing. I know very little about it. Keith, tell me about Greedfall. Or is it Greedfall?
Oh boy. Greedfall, definitely greed. So, have you ever wanted to live out your inner colonialism without having to play New World?
I'm Irish, so no. That's definitely not a fantasy I've had.
Have you ever wanted to manifest your destiny?
Sure.
But instead of just regular old guns and swords, you had magic and magic bullets?
Yeah. Real quickly going back.
Have you ever wanted to go on Disney's Jungle Cruise?
Cruise.
I just want to say, even if you did want to play New World, you can't right now. So maybe.
Oh, is not to go on a too big of a tangent, but is something happening with it?
So
it's cute.
Amazon's servers cannot handle the load of an MMO, which means there's basically no hope for anyone else at this point.
Yeah, well, and so I will say also, everyone's been hyped about New World. I have 100% been in the camp of like, who's trusting Amazon with game development?
Well, that's what I was wondering. How was there such a big like wave of people joining this game when Amazon's track record does not warrant it?
Yeah.
But anyway, Greedfall. We'll talk about New World maybe next month because we'll
Manifest
be able
Destiny.
to get into the servers then. But yes, Manifest Destiny, Keith.
So this is if you've ever watched a YouTuber by the name of the Spiffing Brit, he has coined what this game is entirely in a few simple short words. It is Witcher 3 with like 20 times less the budget.
Okay. Is that a
mixed with Assassin's Creed?
Good Assassin's Creed or bad Assassin's Creed? Because that's such a
Middling?
wide array now. Like, I have no idea what you mean by that.
Middling?
Assassin's Creed 3 or Assassin's Creed 4?
Original Assassin's Creed?
Oh. the Universal Assassin's Creed 1 noise.
Yeah.
Me and Tim just made.
I never recommend that people go back to play the first game if they've played any of the other games because it is hard. It is hard to get through.
I remember when Assassin's Creed Revelations came out, it came with a download code for Assassin's Creed 1, and I was like, if anything, this devalues my purchase. Having this on the disc. But yeah, why?
Yeah, dude, that whole idea that a trained, like, most deadly assassin in the fucking world can't swim.
So funny. So funny. But I don't take the piss out of them because I can't swim. And I could definitely be a trained assassin. I might be, you don't know. Double life. But why did Greedfall catch your eye, Keith?
So it caught my eye because I was watching the Spiffing Brit play it.
Mm-hmm. The Spiffing Brit, I believe, I've only watched his content maybe like a few times, but he does like Civ videos, and I think I've seen a lot of those. So yeah.
And he does a lot of stuff where it comes down to breaking the game.
Yes, he does that in Civ a lot.
Yeah. And I saw him like, yeah, guns are completely overpowered. I'm like, okay, I want to play a gun playthrough of Greedfall. Oh, look, it's on sale. So I got it.
Wasn't it bundled in with PS Plus a while ago as well? Like, I feel like I have this game.
Yes, it was, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I missed it.
I don't think I picked it up.
Right, yeah, it's one of those games that you don't think about, like, and you're just like, I'm not even going to press add to library because why? like
I haven't done that with the
like,
majority of the games that they've put on.
I will never play Worms Rumble. I was just like, nah, not even pressing that button. I don't care if it takes off and becomes the next hot shit. I'm never playing Worms Rumble. So yeah, this caught your eye, and was it just, you wanted to do like an overpowered fantasy of just like go in and grind for and just destroy everything?
Yeah, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. And so how long did you play? Is there like, can you complete this game? Is it something where you just keep going?
You can complete the game. It has a general story. It doesn't have any new game plus, so you can't run through being overpowered again and get some extra goodies. But it's very easy to become overpowered in the game because guns stun people. And guns have a crap ton of stun rate on them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get a pistol like I had that has 6 shots in it, you can just keep stun locking people until their health bar is empty.
So you keep saying people. Is this a multiplayer game, or are you like playing against other players? Okay.
No, NPCs.
Right. That's what I assumed. But you kept saying people, and it was like, okay, this sounds like not fun for the receiving end.
Well, the thing is there's monsters and there's people to kill. So
I guess, yeah, fair enough. So yeah, how long did you play? Did you complete it, or did you?
I beat it. I didn't complete it because completing it for a platinum takes like 6-7 playthroughs. And
jeez,
I ain't dealing with that.
That is what's the word I'm looking for? A piss take.
Sucks.
that is really asking a lot for Greedfall, you know?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember, but I think because like Bloodborne can go up to like New Game Plus 7 before it like hits its cap in difficulty increase. But I think you can platinum the game in 3 playthroughs, and it's really not that long of a game once you know what you're doing.
Right. Yeah, I've definitely had it before where you play through games once and it takes like 40 hours, and then you play through it again, it takes like 10. Just because.
Yeah, dude. That's what I love about Resident Evil 8.
Oh, right, yeah, you can just...
That game
do
was great
subsequent
about that.
playthroughs, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
pretty easily. So after having completed Greedfall, then, is there anything that you think had like a whole lot of value? Is there something in the game that you've never seen done in other games, or was it purely just, I'm going to switch brain off and grind?
So this game is one of those games, it is on the cusp of, it's so bad, but I like it. Like, if this game is bad. The story doesn't explain anything to you. It starts telling you, like, the natives speak a weird language. They'll call you Ino Manawi. And they don't explain what Ino Manawi means through the whole entire game.
Right.
It's so weird.
That's something I want to touch on real quick, because obviously when you're dealing with colonial subject matter and native peoples, that can get out of hand quickly.
Yep.
How do you feel this game handled that as a subject matter?
So the whole entire game has a reputation system where you can do side quests and increase your reputation with everybody. I found it really easy. Just like by doing side quests, I was becoming friends with everybody. I wasn't really subjugating people as you thought you would in a like another colonial type game, as it were.
Finn and I have the exact same expression of just pursed lips, eyes up. As soon as we hear the word subjugating, we're like, ooh.
Yeah, because I'm just like, even with New World, I was like, they better not just you respectfully handle it, please, because I could blow up in your face so easily.
This game does go through the roles of the native people. I don't really know if they give them any real name for it. Everybody just calls them the natives for it, and they go through the whole entire thing as the previous generation did try to take over the place with force.
But they were stopped
No, they were stopped by the summoning of the ancient creatures, and they were pushed out.
Oh, okay.
So now you're here to kill all the ancient creatures and finish the job.
That's what it sounds like, but you end up relatively becoming fast friends with everybody on the island, and that leads into some great points, like one of the main people will betray you, and you have to build an army to basically get your land back from him. And you end up, if you've done the side quest and become friendly with everybody, you basically unite the whole entire island against one single force. And in doing so, you create one of the good endings where everybody works together by respecting nature and progressing industry at the same time. Like that balance between harmony of take and give and take.
It's such a delicate subject matter, because even like Horizon Zero Dawn, I remember, which for the most part I thought was fine, did stumble at a few things. Like, it did suggest a lot of the time that the I can't remember what you call the tribes in Horizon Zero Dawn. It's been that long since I played it, but basically that they were a primitive people, and people were very quickly to go like, they're not primitive, they're not backwards. This is just a different way of life they've experienced. And like even a game like that, which I think handles most of that stuff respectfully, can still stumble, even if it doesn't realize it does. And like it can very quickly get Disney Pocahontas, like just
white savior syndrome.
Things.
This game does get a little bit that way.
Yeah. So
especially because you have,
and that's
the
what I was going to say. It still
Inquisition.
sounds like white saviorness.
Yeah.
Oh, it does. You get the Inquisition in that game as well, and they're capturing people, trying to convert them to their Illuminous religion and stuff like that.
Yeah. I just
get them for.
There are games that can handle that subject matter, but when your player and your protagonist is that person, you really have to tread lightly, because you can get the fact where you're either like beating the player up for their white guilt essentially, or like you're glorifying them in some other way. So
it is a very hard balance to strike with a game like that. And honestly, I don't think any game can do it perfectly well, and Greedfall is no exception to that. It falters in places where you think it would pick up, but it falters.
But in terms of like taking that away and just looking at the gameplay, I assume the gameplay loop must have been satisfying enough, even if it was just a grind fest, even if it was just like brain switched off. Like it must have been good enough, decent enough for you to keep coming back and wanting to complete or beat this game.
I found myself struggling around the midway point.
Right.
To not continue the game, mostly because the story itself was so lame. Like, the twist boss comes out of left field. They don't even establish that this person's going to be a boss at all. And it's like, okay, you're the final boss?
Interesting.
Why?
It's like in is it very much like watching SAO and they beat the mid boss and then it's just like, hey, I'm the creator of the game and I'm the final boss.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it is.
I found a portal to the end of the game.
Yeah.
I don't really want to spoil the game too much just because while I don't think it's 100% a worthwhile playthrough for some people, if you're into jank, yeah, it's a worthwhile playthrough.
Right.
It can be good, dumb fun.
It's good, dumb fun, especially since at level 20, I was killing the high-level arena boss by myself.
Mm-hmm. I, more than anyone, I'd say, definitely do find the value in playing bad games, going in knowing that they're bad, and so it sounds like this might be up my alley, at least in that regard. Going in knowing that this is going to be jank, and I'm going to have a jank time, but knowing that going in, I feel like it would be at least, maybe if not an enjoyable experience, at least a enlightening experience.
It's like how everyone who was a hardcore achievement hunter played the fucking Avatar: The Last Airbender game.
Right, but you only need to play that for 5 minutes because you do the 4 moves and then you've got all the achievements, so you just...
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely, there's some joy to be found in platinuming bad games. Any last words to say on it? Like you said, you would recommend it for some people who like jank, but otherwise you would you say stay away from it if you're looking for like an actual experience?
If you're looking for a solid experience in terms of an RPG with a blend of Witcher Souls-like aesthetics, probably just go play a Witcher game or Souls.
Right. There are better alternatives for what this game offers.
Yes. Right. This game is only good if you want to spend 4 hours grinding and then blow through the whole entire story.
Excellent. All right. We'll leave it at that then. And we'll move on to talk about something that I didn't know was a thing before this podcast started, but the Genshin first anniversary. Tim, you were wanting to talk about that a little bit here. What is the essential breakdown of this first anniversary celebration? ?
All right. So there's been a number of not great things going around with this. So, man, what has been the actual revenue for Genshin? Let me look that up real quick because I do need an actual number.
I don't even want to hear that number. That is
like that number makes me sad.
That number is probably going to upset me.
So within its first year, it's generated around 2 billion.
God, man.
That
Come on.
That hurts my wallet.
That's like Bezos money, man.
Yeah.
So, we are all here familiar with anime gacha.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we're all familiar with the concept of wishes or rolls or whatever you want to call them in these gacha games.
Yeah, Keith said that, in such a way where it's like, I've been hurt by this too many times.
So, the way Genshin works is every 10 wishes, you're guaranteed one 4-star character, which is basically just a normal character.
Okay.
When you hit 75 wishes without getting a 5-star character, you hit what they call soft pity. I cannot remember what the percentage increase is for soft pity, But basically, after 75, that soft pity increases every wish
Right.
until you hit 90. At 90, you hit hard pity, which is basically if you hit 90 and you have not gotten a 5-star by that point, you are guaranteed to get a 5-star.
Yeah, interesting mechanic.
So then there's another layer to it past that, which is they have, and another aspect of gacha that's normal is the banner. Basically, you have a limited character that is like available in that banner. And then after the time period, they're gone and they're out of the rotation. So you only have like a 50% chance of getting them once you hit that hard pity. You could get the banner character, or you could get another 5-star from like the normal pool of 5-stars. And then if you lose that 50-50, then the next time you hit 90, you're guaranteed to get the banner character. So basically, you are only hard guaranteed the wish for the banner character after 180 wishes.
Right.
That's the only time you are hard guaranteed.
This game wants you to play a lot or spend more money.
Right. So, what is the cost on it? So it's 160 primo gems for one wish. So it's 1600 primo gems for 10 wishes.
Before you go on, if you do not free to play or have any bonuses like buying the gems that give you a double gem bonus for buying it for your first time, it is typically around $30 for a 10 pool.
Yeah. So let's see. I cannot remember how much gems. Let me look this up real quick.
Are you Google searching this, or are you looking at on the? Do you have Genshin installed on your phone?
No. I do it on my PS5. Just because I still don't trust a lot of games that like to get access to your kernel.
Fair enough.
On PC and whatnot.
Fair enough.
So, let's see. It is... So you get... Let's see.
You guys have been really into this game since it launched. And
I dropped it.
Actually, I haven't been... I was, like, not into it for, like, a half a year. And then, like, at the beginning of summer, I picked it up.
Right. I definitely feel like you guys have, like, your little Discord, and I sometimes peek in there, and I'm just like, yeah, they're playing Genshin again. But maybe that's just a bad sample that I'm taking. I just see you play a lot more than you actually play.
Yeah, I'm, like, one of 2 to 3 people that actively play the game anymore. And even I have now, like, pretty hard fallen off after the last banner.
Right.
Which the last banner was the largest influx of revenue that they've had because of a character I'm sure you've seen on your Twitter timeline at some point, which is the Raiden Shogun.
Oh,
okay. Girl pulling the sword out of her boobs.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was thinking, like, is Aloy a banner character in that game? Was that a big
No.
deal? Oh,
Free gift.
Oh, okay. Pretty generous.
Yeah.
For
but
games
also
that's
a
not that generous.
Character, if I remember correctly.
Ah, okay.
And she's not really all that unique compared to a lot of other characters. And that's one thing the game suffers from, is a lot of the characters do play very similarly. So it is 6,480 gems for $100. That is 40 wishes.
Okay. Seems,
if I'm remembering correctly.
Maybe I'm wrong, but that seems, I'd like, because I don't play games like this often, that seems pretty standard fare for what I've experienced of, like, loot boxes and stuff. Like, the only real comparison I can make in my head is when I used to play FIFA a lot, and FIFA Ultimate Team, like, you do card packs and stuff. That seems about equivalent. For like $100 you could probably open, actually maybe a bit more than 40 packs. It's been a while since I played that, but that doesn't seem all that high.
Genshin is on the high end of when it comes to rolling for characters. A lot of other games will do like a 10 pull for like depending, maybe $10 to $15 for a 10 pull.
Yeah, though I would say other gacha games are more generous with the resources that you can naturally get from the game.
That's true.
Genshin isn't super generous about that. So, while the game can be fun enough with like a standard pool of characters, like the appeal obviously for a lot of people is the 5-star characters. So you get 40 wishes for $100. That means you need to spend just over $200 just to hit that initial hard pity for the chance to get the 5-star on the banner.
Right. Which is, a lot.
If you want the guarantee, that's like $400.
Yeah.
Which, whales will pay that. And then in the process of doing that, you'll get plenty of 4-star characters, and they're nice enough that, like, so when you get duplicates, just like with other gacha games, you can use that to level up the character you already have the duplicate of.
Yeah.
But once you've maxed out that character, they basically just refund you a wish. So yeah, you'll like get wish refunds if you're whaling as well, but
you have to pay that amount up front first to even get to that stage.
Yeah. So like I have done a couple times basically what is like the minimum investment for like consistent play, which is about $15 a month.
Right.
Or $15. It's $5 a month for what they call the Blessing of the Welkin Moon, which is you get 300 gems up front, and then they give you 90 gems per day for 30 days, but you have to log in every day to get those. So, obviously a way to get people interacting with the game. So that can basically get you that 90 pretty naturally, but you also have to be no-lifing the game and playing constantly, making sure you're doing dailies and all that other stuff. And at that point, you're basically paying a monthly MMO subscription like Final Fantasy XIV.
Yeah, that's the way to look at it in the end, is like you're just paying your WoW subscription, but in a different way this time.
Yeah.
Free at the point of entry, but if you're still wanting to get the same amount, you're going to have to fork it up, in one way or another.
But like, so even I like leading up, because I just got this new job recently, so I was able to know life over the summer. And like right as this event with the Raiden Shogun ended, I was like right at the cusp of getting into pity. And then the event ended because I just didn't have the time near the end of all of that to sit down and play it. And so I played like for the next couple days after that event ended, and then I got the 5-star character on the next banner because of the pity that I had saved up from the previous one. But basically, they have this system. They have generated a lot of money. And so basically people are like, okay, so it's been your 1-year anniversary. We have generated you $2 billion in revenue. People love this game. Like, people are taking sponsorships for the game. People are drawing fan art, doing all sorts of stuff. There's a ton of love for this game. And so the fans are like, hey, like, for the anniversary, you could, like, maybe give us the option to choose, like, a 5-star from the small, like, normal pool of 5 stars.
Right.
And MiHoYo was like, we'll do 10 wishes.
Which is what, like $10, $5?
$30.
Keith, you said it's like $30?
$30, okay.
Yeah, 30.
So they're like, we'll do 10 wishes, but then they also did like an anniversary event giveaway. But the problem is, in order to enter that giveaway, you had to do a piece of fan art.
Huh.
So now you've just locked that giveaway behind the skill set of people who can do art.
Right. That's not really a celebration or a thank you to players as much as it is just we want more social media attention.
Right. So You know, I don't think that the fans' demands were too out there. Because it is a little low. And like, even the people that like win that giveaway, I think they only get like 100 Primo Gems or something like that, which isn't even a wish.
Right.
So it's just like this is very, very stingy on MiHoYo's part. So bad look on them. And it could have been a good look for the fans. But then the fans decided to, like, okay, I can understand review bombing. Like, sometimes it can have its place. So the game got review bombed.
For, like, the headlines that people will see this game is getting review bombed and ask why, you know?
Yeah. And so, you know, we are at a point now where, last I heard, I think the game's down to like a 2.8 on the Play Store.
Right.
So, you know, pretty massive and sizable drop. That's something that is going to hurt. And like that, I would have been okay with. Like, okay, cool. Send your message. Where I start having problems, and I think where we all start having problems, is when it starts getting into the field of harassment, not just of the company and its employees, but then when you extend that harassment as well to the voice actors, and then it's even worse when it gets out to the point that people are harassing people who are making fan art of the game because they enjoy it. Like, that's the point where something's got to give, and I don't think that this game should be worth it to people to the point that they're harassing just general enjoyers of the game.
Yeah. I don't even know if I get mad anymore when I see that kind of stuff. It's just so depressing, because not only are you just mad, being an asshole for nothing.
I'm disappointed.
Exactly.
Yeah. Not only are you just being an asshole for the sake of being an asshole, but like you're not even directing your anger at the right place at all. Like, these are just people.
It's not meaningful.
Yeah, they have no say on this. Like, voice actors and artists and all these people, like, they have no say on what you're mad about. So it's very disheartening and just ends up making the whole situation worse and ends up making the fans look bad, which isn't in the interests of what they were trying to do anyway, you know?
And however, I want to be a little bit specific before we move on, is yes, 10 Primo Gems is a little bit low, and MiHoYo has come out with a few things later to give out for the anniversary, but one thing you really got to consider, MiHoYo doesn't owe you anything.
Right.
They could have easily not done an anniversary event. You need to calm your tit-tats down just a tad bit and stop harassing people who have no involvement in this.
It is also weird, though, how stingy they're being, given that, like, every time there's a major update, they hand out, like, 300 to 600 Primo Gems just for the maintenance having been a thing. So, yeah, it's a little weird with how stingy they're being. But, you know, this is a point where we hit a crossroads that I think, like, obviously we don't have the time on this podcast to go in depth on an issue like this. But it is an issue that we need to tackle as a larger gaming community, which is the issues of addiction, predatory business practices, and psychological health.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Because the only way that you're hurting MiHoYo in this instance is not, as we said, not by attacking voice actors and not by attacking artists. It's by attacking MiHoYo's wallet. That is the only way that you're getting through to them. But then you have people who maybe have addictions with gambling or general game addictions or other reasons that they just, for some reason, can't drop this game and refuse to drop it. When that is the only way that you're going to really get through to MiHoYo, is hurt their review scores, hurt their impressions, hurt their actual interactivity, and their income. That's the only way that we can do anything, because especially us as people from the US and from basically any Western country, we can't touch MiHoYo outside of their revenue because they're in China.
Yeah.
We're not bringing any sort of judiciary hammer down on them.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, people need to figure out what's best for them, for their health, and just learn when to drop things.
Mm-hmm.
Learn when to drop not just Genshin, but learn when to drop any company. Learn when to drop your Activisions. Learn when to drop your Blizzards. Learn when to drop your Bethesdas and your CD Projekt Reds. When people take advantage of and abuse their fan bases, those fan bases need to walk away.
Yeah.
Because your loyalty is not placed in the right place.
And that's why I 100% dropped Genshin. As soon as I saw that my free-to-play time was considered up by completing the map and completing most of the quests and finding nearly all the chests and not being able to get that free currency into Primo Gems, it started looking very predatory. I'm like, okay, how much is a normal 10 pull? If a 10 pull is low, I will do a 10 pull a month. The Welcome Moon is a nice addition, yes, but at that point I'm paying my Final Fantasy subscription. So I'll do a one-time payment. If it's low enough of like $5-10, I'll do that one-time payment and get a 10 pull. And then I started realizing that a 10 pull is $30 and above.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, so I think I didn't finish what I was saying there actually. So the Welcome Moon itself isn't that expensive. That's $5.
Mm-hmm.
So that's $5 for, I think it's like 3,000 total, which is a couple of 10 pulls nearly.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I think 200 short of 2 10 pulls, but you have to play every day.
Yeah.
The other $10 comes from the Battle Pass system, which is a system that I don't think any of us are ever truly on board with.
Right.
Or gonna escape.
Yeah.
Hello, Pokemon. I've done it.
I'm not a big fan of Battle Royales, but I do agree with a lot of the fans of Apex that it probably does the Battle Pass system the best, in that if you are someone who plays Apex constantly, like that is your main game and you love it to death, and you pay for a Battle Pass, if you finish that Battle Pass, you get enough currency within that Battle Pass to pay for the next one. So basically, you pay for one, and as long as you're a consistent player, you can just play throughout the rest of the Battle Passes for free completely.
Mm-hmm.
So, cool. I'm fine with that. At least to an extent. I still don't like it, but I can tolerate that. I'm not a fan of the way Genshin is doing things right now, mainly just because, like, for my 10 to 15 a month, or like $5 to $15 a month, I don't think that I would be getting as much as I would get out of something like Final Fantasy XIV. Mm-hmm. Because Genshin is very limiting on its co-op aspects, and it does not have like the sense of community that you get out of playing more traditional MMOs, where you have guilds and housing and parties and raids and dungeons and all of these big fantastical things that you can do with groups of people. And as we know, MMOs are extremely content rich. Genshin, I can, if I really set down and like just buckle in and do it, I can finish a lot of the content from like major updates at the very least within a week, unless they have like purposely time locked things.
Right. Yeah, well said about like just knowing when to drop games and companies that just don't value you. Like there are way too many good games out there and way too many good companies really trying to do cool things to waste your time on something that doesn't respect you as a consumer at the end of the day. I used to think with this stuff it would always be like a regulatory thing or like a government thing stepping in, but like even now, like this past week I've been reading articles about like UK government is still trying to catch up with loot boxes, and the UK IE, which is like the regulatory / advisory board for games in the UK, he stepped down and he was like, a big part of his speech was like, hey, watch out for loot boxes. But like, even that is still a discussion that's like, will loot boxes be considered gambling? And like, that's, I feel like that conversation goes back to like the early 2010s. Like, it's so fun.
I know
so
it
slow.
picked up with Overwatch.
Right.
Like, Fortnite and Overwatch really caused that to hit, like, the mainstream news media a lot harder.
Yeah.
I thought it was more the Star Wars that
Battlefront
really...
2 was a big thing for sure.
Yeah,
you can go,
Battlefront
you can keep going
2.
back, honestly, to like the inception of loot boxes themselves. But honestly, yeah, it's so slow to regulate that at this point you just have to know when a company is doing you in and just have the strength and the know-how to just go, hey, I'm not going to do this anymore. And it's hard, I know, especially because games is something you can get so attached to characters, to worlds, to stories. And like, while Genshin is something new, like things like World of Warcraft or just Activision in general, or like different companies that rub you the wrong way. Like, you've invested years of your time into this thing, even if it's not in playtime, if it's just an energy, we've invested so much into these, like, it can be hard to step away. But at the end of the day, these are products, and while you'll always have the memories of the good times you did have with them, it's important to realize when that has changed, become no longer enjoyable, is possibly very, very unhealthy to your mental health, to your wallet, whatever, and just know when to step away, I think, is the best and also the hardest thing to do when it comes to something like this.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And like, so I haven't been using my PS5 a lot lately because my controller has drift on both joysticks. So I need to order a new PS5 controller. But once I can get that in, I know, if you're looking for stuff to get you away from Genshin, like, and yes, PS5s still aren't widely available, but for people that have PS5s, you've got Returnal, you've got Kenna,
Astro.
You've got Astro. Astro, like, for being just a free game, how much enjoyment have we gotten out of that, Finn?
So freaking good. Just one of the best PS5 games I've played even still.
Mm-hmm.
So good.
You've got your Spider-Mans, and then as far as other stuff like on PC and Xbox, you've got Lemnis Gates, you've got Death Loops. Mm-hmm. Like, there is so much out there that is creative and fun and fresh and new experiences that are coming so widely recommended by so much of the community. And like, I'm one who very much thinks we should be willing to roll the dice. Like, I will, after probably doing Returnal and Kenna first, and still have to get Melty Blood, which, Finn, I'm getting you on Melty Blood.
Oh no, okay.
And I know how I'm getting you on Melty Blood. But we'll come back to that at a later date.
Announced as a character because I saw that, yes. And okay, that's going to be a whole other discussion.
Yeah, that we'll get to at a later date. But, there are plenty of games out there to enjoy, and I personally think we should be willing to take some gambles. Like, everyone here knows that I'm not a major fan of Bethesda, but I'm willing to give Deathloop a try because I have heard that Arcane under Bethesda did really good work on this game.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I'm going to roll the dice on them, just like I rolled the dice on them with Doom, and I felt that Doom was well produced by id. Like, I still don't know that I'll roll the dice on a new Elder Scrolls game.
Fair.
But
yeah.
Every once in a while, there's games, even from developers that I don't like, where I'm like, this seems like they're doing well, not just in terms of, like, bugs and glitches in development, but also doing well by the people that are putting their faith in them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So just keep an eye on who are making products that you're interested in a way that is not predatory or harmful to you.
Mm-hmm. Well said. I feel like that's a great segue to move on to our final game that we've been playing, and I feel like Keith may have rolled the dice in this one because he saw how creative it was being. Trigger Witch.
Oh, it's definitely. So I was just browsing around the GG.io for that we use for our game lists and stuff like that.
Right. Okay.
And I was looking like at the latest reviews, and I saw a game called Trigger Witch. I'm like, oh, this looks fun. And it's done by, I think, Play East Asia, the people who did Reverie.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, this looks very Zelda. I'm like, okay, what is it about? Oh, it's Zelda, but with gun.
And gore.
And gore. And multiple guns. And multiple scenes of gore. But the fun part is, you could turn the gore off and turn it into confetti.
I always love those options in games.
Grunt birthday party.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are people who like gore, but like also having those options are just fun to have, just to experience, even if you're not like gore averse.
It's like the friendships in Mortal Kombat.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Or like the arachnophobia mode that just replaces spiders with like
The
big balls or like
blob.
other blob monsters. You know, that's always fun. But yeah, Trigger Witch I saw the trailer for and was instantly like, okay, this is fun and new and creative, and how this slipped by my radar, I have no idea. Is it a recently released thing, or did you just happen to pick it up recently?
I just happened to pick it up because I saw it on sale for $10.
Right, okay.
It was released on June 11th of this year.
Okay, so not too far back.
So it is new.
Yeah. Not too far back, though.
I saw it and I'm really enjoying it. It's like it's set in a mystical setting where witches have lost pretty much all of their magic thanks to a portal that's like opened up called the Ordinance. And everything is like all the characters are named after guns or gun manufacturers.
Yeah.
Because you got Colette, who's obviously Colt. You got Litchfield. Stuff like that. And your main religion is ballisticism.
Love it. I love when
it's
worlds
great.
are built around like one core idea and everything. Like, that's half the charm of Pokemon, I think, is that everyone is obsessed with Pokemon. And like, there's a weird charm going into this game. Like, I've seen the art style, it's very, very cute. But like, I imagine going around this world and realizing that everything in this world relates to guns somehow or magic is quite charming in its own way.
So, you know how I described this in a single title?
Go ahead.
The Legend of Zelda Enter the Gungeon.
Yeah, okay, that's a great way of describing it.
It's very, very much like that. You even have a top-down Toho sections, bullet hell-like sections.
Okay, yeah.
In some of the game, you got an endless arena of that. Some story dungeons will have those segments. It's very fun. I like it. It's you can even set your own difficulty as well. It has custom sliders for how difficult you want the game to be.
Oh, so do you have sliders for different aspects of difficulty instead of just a normal easy to hard? That's cool.
So they have an option from easy to hard.
Yeah.
You can choose that, but that moves the slider. But you can move the slider to be as difficult as you want. Like, I can have a 10 times multiplier to the damage that I take.
Yeah. It reminds me of the packs of punishment in Hades, where like once you've beaten that game once, you could then decide how difficult do I want the next few runs to be. And that's good for, just like giving players options, but it's also good for like, I'm not in the mood to get my ass kicked today. I'm going to go on easy mode and just grind. Or I want a challenge right now. Put all the sliders to max, So that's good to hear.
It's a very short game, too. I'm about 4 hours in, and I think I'm about halfway done.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if there's much more we need to say further about this game. I feel like you get the concept initially. Is there anything that's sort of... Like, I don't imagine this game as having a hugely rich story behind it. Maybe like a lot of pieces of lore that's interesting, but like didn't hit you in the way like Tales of Rise might have per se. Like it's mostly gameplay focused, I'd imagine.
It's mostly gameplay focused, but it does have a nice interesting story. Because as soon as you get your first gun, a mysterious man pops out of a portal cackling like he's all evil and shit. Then he kidnaps your mother. All that, and you're off on a quest to stop him. I don't know how it's gonna further development, but it's pretty cheesy, tongue in cheek. A lot of puns, lots of puns.
Love to hear it. In terms of your arsenal, then, are you satisfied with the variety of guns you have? Is there a lot of different satisfying options? Is there sort of one gun that you favor among others?
So far, I only have 4 guns, but I still have two dungeons to choose from to go to, and then there's probably another dungeon after that.
Mm-hmm.
But so far, I have a flamethrower, twin Uzis, a boomstick, not boomstick, but hand cannon, so a pistol, and a grenade launcher.
Nice. And can you switch between those on the fly, or do you have to pick a gun for an encounter?
You can set 2 guns to switch from by pressing the L1 button, or you can map 4 different guns to your D-pad.
Mm-hmm.
So you can switch between those on the fly, or you can hold down L1 and you can do a little circle wheel to select your gun.
I feel like this is going to be an unfair comparison. I just want to ask it though. One of my favorite gunplay experiences of this past year, if not of the past 3 years, has been Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, in terms of that being a great arsenal and having so much variety and so many ways to do encounters, even if the enemies aren't necessarily that hard. Do you feel like this game is, I don't know if you actually played Rift Apart, but do you feel like this game has a good amount of shooting variety? Does it let you play in lots of different ways? Is it something that me, who is definitely feeling like I want to go back and play Rift Apart but not cover that same story ground, would this be something you maybe recommend to me in terms of just, I want to play with guns in weird different ways?
Honestly, I don't feel like the guns provide too much variety as it is.
Mm-hmm.
They do different effects as you would expect guns to do, like a flamethrower just shoots out a jet of flames, and grenade launchers shoot grenades. But I don't feel like the gameplay is too dissimilar.
They don't feel different.
Yeah, they don't feel too different, because it's still, at the end of the day, a twin-stick shooter.
Right.
And yes, I did play Ratchet & Clank. I was the first one to platinum it of our group, I believe.
Oh, okay, that's a flex. All right, we'll give you that one. What was I going to say? I had a question lined up, but I forgot. I forgot what my question was.
Oh, dang.
Damn. Oh, that was my question. I got it. Got back there eventually. So obviously you're a witch, and you said that in this world, like, magic is basically gone, so you're forced to resort to guns. As you play through the game, does magic reincorporate itself into the game in any way?
So far, there are people who are practicing the old ways of magic. I'm not 100% seeing magic returning, but you do split. The world has been divided, and during the first chapter of the game, you release that divide. And you separated yourself from the goblins and other people, from the witches who lived sequestered in their own little zone.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody hates witches there. And they're like, you have lost the old ways, you do not respect the blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And it's... I've stopped there, so I don't know too much what's going on.
Maybe it's something for the sequel. I would just love to see the interplay of magic and guns, because I feel like there's so many fun things you could do with that. But yeah, maybe that's something for if this game gets enough traction for the next Trigger Witch. Because I feel like there's... Having magic removed and having it forced to be guns is definitely an interesting narrative device, but I would definitely love to be able to interplay magic missile fire spells with double Uzis in some way, you know?
Yeah. Magic has not been 100% removed. There is a character that can use fire magic. And she's part of the story. You don't get to play her as her or anything, but she's story based. But one magic that they said that has remained with the witches is the ability to create infinite bullets.
Excellent.
So that's why you have no ammo.
Fair enough.
Counter.
Yeah.
Well, you have an ammo counter, but that's why you can just reload indefinitely.
Yeah.
Without draining things out or getting resources.
Very nice. Good to hear. Anything else you want to say on Trigger Witch before we move on to our next segment?
And, take a chance, roll the dice. You never know what kind of game you're going to have fun with.
That's the theme of this episode. Episode whatever, October 2021 play date, roll the dice, So now that we've talked about what we have been playing, it's time to jump into our next segment, which is, of course, where I get these two to play a little game of my own division on this podcast. And since this is the spooky-themed episode, I thought it would be fun to do a Halloween-style game to which I have given the title Monster Mashup. The rules for this one is quite simple. For each of these entries, I've taken the names of two beloved monsters / general enemies from video games and fused them in a humorous manner, or at least humorous to me. You will receive 1 point if you can name both the monsters used to create these abominations, and bonus points are available if you can also name both of the games which they came from. The way we're going to do this is, like always, you're going to have to buzz in before you answer. Buzz in by saying your own name so that I know who buzzed in first. So are you ready to play? Do we all understand the rules?
I love these games.
So you're just saying like a name, right? It's not like we're guessing from a picture or anything like that.
Yeah, I will have fused the names of these two creatures to create like a pun name, and you just have to tell me what it is. Number 1 is Death Crawler. Death Crawler.
Ooh.
Already stumped him.
Well, yeah, because there's... Yeah, go ahead.
A Deathclaw and... I want to say a Nightcrawler, but...
Ooh, you know what I'm going to give it to? Okay, so the two monsters are the Deathclaw and the Crawler. Can you name... I assume you can name at least one of the games that they're from.
Yes, I can only name Fallout, but I don't know where the Crawler's from.
Okay, the Crawler is from Dead Space 2.
Okay, is that the babies?
I think so, yeah, the weird baby things. Yeah, I saw an image
That
of it.
blow up when they get too close to you? Yep.
Crawlers, yeah. So that's a point for Keith.
Or actually, no, I think they're the viney things, the viney tentacle things that shoot shit at you.
Let me look it up, because I'm pretty sure I saw the image of the baby you're talking about when I was looking up Crawlers. Yeah, it's the weird baby things.
Okay.
Yeah. Freak me out, but you know what? It's a Halloween episode, so we're going to go with it. Monster number 2 is the Click Boom.
Keith.
Yes?
Clicker and a Boomer.
Yes, that is absolutely correct. Can you name the games they reside in?
Last of Us and Left 4 Dead.
That's 2 more points for Keith on the ball. This next one's a bit of a gimme, perhaps, but we'll see. Grim Creeper.
Keith.
Yeah.
The Grim Reaper and a Creeper.
Right, that is correct. Can you name the games?
Castlevania and Minecraft.
Yes. You could have also named
that's where
pretty
I
much
get-
any other game.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's what, like, throws me off is, like, when you pick things like Death or Grim, I'm like, okay, but which of the thousands of monsters that have used those in their names are you picking these from?
I have a list here of, I think, 25 different games that I would have accepted. And also, if you had just told me for a fact, like, the Grim Reaper's in this game, and I looked it up, I would have also accepted that.
Yeah.
But Keith was able to actually name the first one on my list, which was Castlevania, which is interesting. Other games I have on here: Guitar Hero, Conker's Bad Fur Day, The Sims,
Diablo,
God of War, Hades, Final Fantasy in some form, Twisted Metal, Paperboy, Kingdom
Wait, the
Hearts.
Grim Reaper's in God of War?
So Thanatos,
Oh.
original
Okay.
Grim Reaper. I was also taking like Grim Reaper like things that are clearly inspirations from. I would have accepted anything. That was a bit of a gimme. So Keith is just running away with this game so far, but a lot of points to play for. Next one, Pyramid Crab.
Keith.
Yep.
Pyramid Head and a Mud Crab.
No.
I've got it.
Tim, go.
It's a pyramid head and a head crab.
Yes. That is...
So
yeah,
Silent Hill and Half-Life.
Yes. 100%. This one's going to be interesting. I have to pronounce this correctly. If you need me to spell it, go ahead and ask me. Xenogre. Xenogre.
All right, Tim.
Tim buzzed in first, so I'm gonna give it to Tim.
So a xenomorph and a Xenogre
Yes.
from Alien and from Monster Hunter.
Yes. Tim gets back in the game with that one. I had to throw on some Monster Hunter ones because it's monsters, so I had to.
I just was worried that you were going to do that and then have it be a mix of a xenomorph and an ogre.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. I would have also accepted that, to be fair. This one's another gimme, I think. Murloc-Durox. Murloc-Durox.
Tim.
Keith was first, to my knowledge.
Murloc and an Octorok.
Yes, from which games?
World of Warcraft and Zelda.
That is double points. Well done on that one. This is... Well, I have two favourite ones, but this is probably my second favourite. Ratherers. Ratherers. You guys definitely know one of these. I'll be interested to see if you know the second one. Ratherers. No ideas coming to anyone. I will give half a point to someone who can name at least one of the creatures.
Tim.
Yeah?
I'm just going to throw a wild guess out and say Ravagers.
No, that is
As
not
one of them?
the two.
Okay.
I'm going to count down from 5 and then we're just going to move on.
Oh,
Any wild guesses?
this one's hard.
One.
Nope.
We're done. So that is a mix of Rathalos and Gatherers from Amnesia, which is those things you might have seen in the cover with the weird mouths and stuff. They're called Gatherers, apparently. This one's interesting. Big Chatties.
What?
Big Chatties is
Okay,
my
so
favorite
Tim, I can name at least one of these, which is the Big Daddies from BioShock.
one. Okay, what's the other one? I sort of slit this one, and the second one is a bit harder. I just wanted to make the name Big Chatties.
You're a horrible person, Finn.
Is there an enemy called a Chad in any game?
No, not to my knowledge.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, have we had enough time between that becoming like a socially topical meme and like an opportunity for a full game to have been developed around that?
All right. Maybe this is just giving it to you, but you did get the first one. I'm going to give you the alternative name I have for this, and if you can guess it, I'm going to give you the point, Tim.
Okay.
Big Dadazard.
Oh, Charizard Pokemon.
Yes.
Okay.
So what was the other? Yeah, you already named it, didn't you? The other enemies
Big
from?
Daddy
From?
from BioShock.
Yes. Okay. So I'm going to give you double points on that one. I
Big
wrote
Chatties.
Big Chatties, and I was like, I have to keep that name, but it's maybe not clear what the other thing is. Okay.
Yeah.
Next one, the Floodless. Sorry, I pronounced that weird. The Floodless.
Tim.
Yes.
It's the Flood from Halo and Heartless from Kingdom Hearts.
That's not what I had, but I'll give that to you because that's close enough. I had the Bloodless from Hades as my other one, but yes, you're correct, and it's the Flood from Halo, and yeah, I'll just give you that one because it's pretty much close. The Mimic. The Mimic.
Tim.
Yeah.
So it's Muck from Pokemon and then Mimics from basically any traditional Western RPG.
Yes. The one I took is from Dark Souls, but yes, you got double points on that one. Very well played, sir. Very well played. All right. We're going into my last one here. I'm going to count up the points just so I know if we need to go to tiebreakers. So Keith is currently on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 points. Tim is on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points. So it's almost tied up going into the last round. Oh no, sorry. Yeah, okay, this is just going to be the last one straight up. Even if we end in a tie. So, the final one is, I'm going to have to pronounce this right as well to make it clear, Boombas.
Tim.
Yes.
So I know that I'm imagining one is Zubat from
Incorrect.
Pokemon.
Incorrect.
Okay.
I limited myself to 2 Pokemon references in this game.
Okay.
So yeah, that's we're not. Keith, you can buzz in when you want because Tim already got that wrong. Boom.
Can I get the name again?
Boom Bats. Yeah.
Oh wait. Okay.
You can buzz in again, Tim, if you want. It's
All right, Tim.
I think Keith was first. Okay, I'll go with Keith.
Go ahead.
Boo from Mario.
And
Buzz. Think I can't get the last bit.
I thought.
I've got it.
Okay.
All right.
I'm gonna count you down. I'm gonna count you down, Keith, and you just have to throw out something.
He can go. He can go.
Okay. Tim, go.
It's a Boo and a Goomba.
Yes. And I assume you can name the games.
Mario.
Yes, both Mario. Tim stealing the win away at that last juncture by 1 point. That was a hard one. Yeah, I have way too much fun making up these little games, especially if they're pun-based, so this was a joy to do.
It's funny, though, because Keith and I got reverse things. I got, like, after it, because I thought I heard Boom Bats, essentially.
Right, okay, yeah, I was really trying to enunciate to make sure it came across.
So once I like heard Boomba, I was like, "Oh, it's a Goomba," and then I heard Keith say "Boo," and I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, Keith
cool, I've got this.
Boo before he got Goomba, and I was sure it would be the other way around. I would be remiss. I got my roommate to help me come up with some of these, and I would be remiss if I don't also put out. This is not the game. This is just me giving a nod to his suggestion, which is the Joggle. Which is just such a funny name.
So a jockey from Left 4 Dead.
That is the first one, yes. The second one is a hard reference. But I should state that the limit on Pokemon does not apply to this one.
Okay.
So the other one is...
Torkoal? No, it's not Torkoal.
It's Gibble, which is a Pokemon I've never ever seen or heard before.
Oh, yeah, it's Garchomp.
Yeah.
What gen is that?
Sinnoh, Gen 4.
Oh, okay.
So Gibble is the tiny little shark that turns into Garchomp, Cynthia's dragon type.
Okay, so I guess if I
Who is like one of the most popular Pokemon of all time.
Okay, all right. So I guess
he's in like Garchomp is probably one of the strongest characters in Unite.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah, you guys have been playing Pokemon Unite.
I haven't.
Okay, well,
Keith and other people have.
Yeah. But. So yeah, maybe if Diamond and Pearl remake was out already, I would have knew that. But yeah, I did not know what Gibble was.
Yeah, well, and I think he's even in like Pokken, and like Garchomp's extremely popular. It's just Gibble is lesser known because he's not Garchomp yet.
So that was us playing a little game. We've talked about what games we have been playing. Now it's time to look at the games coming up in October. Remember, guys, if you haven't done this already, I'm just giving you the warning now that what we do in these is we go through the list and then we each have one nod that we can give a game to just give it a special shout out to recommend people keep an eye on it. So have your nods ready. And we're starting off on the 1st of October. I don't know how long we'll talk about this, but with the annual release of FIFA 22. I have very little to say.
We want to talk about games that people should drop for the health of their mind and their wallet.
Right, but that's what I was going to say. FIFA is, and EA in general, is just constant, like, especially with the Ultimate Team stuff, just such a money-grubbing piece of trash. But in an industry where there's basically no alternative, because for a long time, there was competition between another football game called Pro Evolution Soccer.
PES.
Yeah. And that was a war for a long time until around about 2013, where PES started to fall off. PES is now rebranded as eFootball, and that is just recently launched as a free-to-play like online service game, which I thought was a cool concept and could maybe revitalize that genre. Apparently, eFootball is trash, at least in the current state it's in. So people who want to play football games don't have a lot of options. So FIFA 22 is there. It's the same game as FIFA 21, but you're buying it again.
And then there's the question of whether or not I be that dickhead American. And I say, what are you talking about? People can just go play Madden.
Yeah, no, we're gonna not accept that. I'm gonna cut that from the audio version. No, okay. 5 on the 5th, there's actually a few games on the 5th, but we're going to start off with a game that I will probably watch from afar and not play, but it's one of those games where it's going for it, and if you're slightly interested, you should maybe roll the dice on it. Jet the Far Shore. It's one of those games.
So I remember this name.
So yeah,
I'm having a hard time remembering
interesting
it.
Game where like you're in this ship and you're controlling. The ship is very small and it's going across the landscape, but also you can be in the ship and you can talk with your crewmates and stuff. It seems to be going for a very unique premise. I'm just not sure. I think it might be the art style or like the heavy use of browns and greys is turning me off a bit.
It gives me that like. I hate to use the term, but the artsy game vibe. So in the same vein as like Journey and Flower and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely going for that style. I believe these guys made another artsy game that I'm forgetting the name of right now, Super Brothers.
I do feel like I remember Super Brothers.
Yeah, I'm publishing this game. I can't remember what game that was, but yeah, I saw Jet the Far Shore on the cover of Edge magazine recently, and I was like, okay, I should maybe just keep an eye on this.
They did Sword and Sorcery.
Ah, okay, yeah. That makes sense. Not an artsy game though, really, is it? Sword and Sorcery. So maybe I had that wrong. On the 5th also is the game that's getting my nod in Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl.
Dude, if you knew, have you watched the breakdowns for that?
No, I have not watched any, other than like seeing them on Twitter. I've not watched any of the character breakdowns, any of the other breakdowns for this. I'm trying to go in sort of blind.
So I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
How comfortable are you with competitive melee?
Not that comfortable.
Because that's the world you're walking into.
Right. So obviously I love that you're bringing all these Nickelodeon universes together in a Smash style way. Gameplay looks pretty solid from what I've seen. Pretty like what PlayStation All-Star should have done, which is just basically carbon copy Smash Bros. And not try and stray too far from that. Has rollback netcode, which is awesome. And that's going to be interesting to see how well that's implemented. And the one thing that's stressing me out about this game is it's very clear that there's going to be no voice acting for the characters, which is going to be unsettling.
And so I've watched Maximilian Dude react to a few of the things, including like the mechanics breakdown and whatnot. He has said he is getting it on PC, and I can say that that's probably what I would recommend for most people getting this game, if only for the fact that knowing the PC community and knowing the dedication of players, and if this game can actually get a good foothold, people are going to mod all of that stuff in.
Yeah, that's a fair point. For sure. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on that. It's one of those things that I've thought several times about picking up in the Fantasy League, but I'm just not that confident. But at the same time, I'm confident enough to give it my nod. It's at least something you should keep an eye on, because it could be really good or a dumpster fire, but nowhere in between. Alan Wake Remastered also comes out in the 5th. Never played Alan Wake the first time around.
I don't know if it is above anything, because if I'm being entirely honest, there's a lot on this list that I could probably give my nod to. Like, this looks like a good month, and there's already so much that I have to play. But I played Alan Wake. Like, Alan Wake was literally, I think, my first game on the Xbox 360.
Wow.
And I loved that game. Mm-hmm. That game is great, and, you know, whether people enjoyed Control or not, but by and large, I would say the majority of people enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. The reason people even had expectations for Control is only because of Alan Wake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's my style of game. If I am going for a Remedy game, definitely I'm jumping into Control first because of how trippy that game gets sci-fi wise and how like weird visuals is happening. Now, I imagine Alan Wake gets trippy at points as well. Just something about Control, when I look at it, I just get much more of a vibe. But definitely Alan Wake has significance as the Remedy maker, essentially, why they're a name.
Yeah. Well, and so, like, do you know mechanically how Alan Wake works?
Is it a walking simulator, essentially?
So, basically, you get a gun and a flashlight, and the only way you can damage enemies is by like shining the flashlight on them enough to disable them, but you also have to keep batteries for your flashlight. So it's like a survival horror game.
Interesting.
But you know, it's kind of what people like about the older Resident Evils in that like it's clunky enough to be horrifying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I give it a solid recommendation.
Mm-hmm. At least it got a good showing at the PlayStation Showcase where I think it got announced. So yeah. They're definitely positioning this as something you should keep an eye on. The fourth and final game on our list to be coming out on the 5th of October, it's a big day, Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania, which I believe is a remastered collection of Super Monkey Ball, the best of. Definitely never a series I even tried, but watching like speedrun compilations of it and like interesting little tricks that people do in that game is definitely getting me intrigued, at least to watch it when it comes out, if not to play it myself.
If anything, like probably even more than to play it, I am excited to see like the revitalization of that game as a speed game.
Yeah, game's done quick next year. Super Monkey Ball, top of the list.
Dude, I wonder if they're going to do a marathon. Like, now that they just have a collection, I wonder if there's just going to be a Banana Mania speedrun that is just get through all of the games.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
On the 7th, then, is one that's been coming for a while. Far Cry 6, starring Giancarlo Esposito.
Oh, that's going to be a fun one, I hope.
Yeah? How into Far Cry are you?
Huh?
How into Far Cry are you? Did you play 5?
I played 3, 4. I haven't played 5.
But 6 is grabbing you.
And 6 is grabbing me, yeah.
It's interesting to see
mostly
your VTuber avatar stretching.
Yeah, sorry.
No worries.
So most of the reason why I'm excited is because of some of the marketing they've been doing on their YouTube.
Right.
Because they've been having Giancarlo Esposito do like questions from the fans, breakdown of the rebel weapons, totally not fake gameplay tips.
Right.
Where he just goes and gives you wrong tips about playing the game because he says the general is everywhere. You can't trust even your own allies, so you might as well just shoot them.
I haven't watched these clips, Keith, but this is reminding me so much of the fake commercials they did for Breaking Bad that Giancarlo Esposito was in for like Los Pollos Hermanos,
the chicken commercials and whatnot,
or Saul Goodman commercials, and it's sounding a lot like that, which I think is genius to do for Far Cry 6. I need to look up those videos.
And then there's one of the newer ones they did called Chicharron Run.
Mm-hmm.
Which is basically the game trailer, except from the point of view of the chicken running away from everything.
Right. Oh, that's good stuff. Yeah. I want to love Far Cry. I don't think I ever will. If Far Cry 3, like, the villains are always the strong suit, the gameplay is not something I'm in love with. So I don't know if I'll ever complete a Far Cry game. I think I'll always just be resigned to watching highlights of villain monologues and stuff. But yeah, Giancarlo is like almost convincing me, to buy it because his performance is great. He's a great villain.
It is a situation where I worry though, because like everyone talks about how much the villains make the Far Cry games.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But like you're not playing as the villain.
Right. And that's
how often are you seeing them?
I'm much more likely to, instead of playing Far Cry 6, play that bundled in thing if they ever release a standalone where you are playing as the villains in that weird play as Vass and the other two. Because that's way more interesting to me in a weird way. Because the protagonists in Far Cry are never really a strong suit.
Yeah, like I tried playing Far Cry 3 years ago before 4 came out, and it did not land. I could not get into it.
Same, exactly same. I loved every interaction with Vass, but everything else in that game just turned me off.
Dude, I think I literally got like one Tatao, and I put the game down.
Yeah. The day after then, Metroid Dread. The return of 2D Metroid. The what did they say? The end of the 2D Metroid saga, or like Samus's tale?
I don't
or
know, but this
like
is so I don't know what the marketing is on that. I've been trying to avoid it for the most part.
Yeah.
But I do know that like this is the most recent game.
Yes.
So this is taking place after Fusion, which was up until Dread the last game chronologically.
Mm-hmm.
So Dread is once again the last game chronologically. So it'd be very interesting if they did decide to just potentially hard bookend it and say this is the end of Metroid. Like, we'll still get Prime 4 because that's
in between,
middle of chronology and whatnot. Like, they can still make other games because Samus had plenty of adventures.
Mm-hmm.
But they could potentially just make this like, hey, this is the end. Samus is done now.
Yeah, interesting. That would be such an ambitious way to go. And I feel way more confident in this game, gameplay-wise, than I did immediately after E3. Because the gameplay looked good, but quite janky, quite stuttery. I feel like the stuff we've seen recently, like especially like the most recent Direct, has been very smooth looking and definitely something that I want to play.
Dude, I'm so looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I'm so looking forward to it. I just... I wish that we could play the other, like, updated versions of the games.
Right.
Like, I wish we could play Samus Returns. I wish we could play Zero Mission. I wish we could play Fusion. I wish we could play all that stuff on our Switch. Because as much as people will love the original Metroid and the original Super Metroid, we now have updated versions of some of those games.
Mm-hmm. Metroid, or like Samus, for as important as she is, gets way less love than Link and Mario. And I don't feel like that's entirely justified. There's definitely should be more dipping back into the catalogue of old Metroid games, I feel like.
I mean, Rosalina gets more representation than Samus does.
Yeah, fair. But yeah, that's going to be so fun. I haven't cracked open my Switch in a while. This is going to be an excuse for me to crack open my Switch on day one. Big time.
Yeah, like, I don't want to go too far, like, off on Metroid, but, like, to give people a metric, and maybe this isn't the best metric, because maybe not everyone's familiar. Metric? Yes. Like, Samus is to Nintendo what Ripley is to sci-fi in Alien.
Right. Okay.
Like, as far as being, like, the definitive badass, strong, take no shit woman.
Yeah.
Like, Samus is that and has been that since, what was it, the 80s?
Mm-hmm.
That the original Metroid came out?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, Samus has been kicking ass as a girl since her inception and just gets tossed aside, and I kind of really hate to see it.
Nintendo could definitely boast and flex more about it, but they don't seem to for whatever reason. So
it's Japan.
Yeah, but I'm so excited for it.
As much as I hate to say it, it's Japan.
Back 4 Blood comes out on the 12th. It's a game we've all sort of been keeping our eye on, I think, in now to play. Sphere. Coming out day one on Game Pass, so it's definitely going to be an excuse, at least for that very first night, to jump in with people and just go, hey, let's try this out, let's roll the dice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's definitely a game I know friends are going to want to play.
Yeah, I never got into Left 4 Dead 2 because I think I played that way after it was a big deal, and it just never struck with me. But maybe if I'm in the ground floor of Back 4 Blood, it'll be a bit more of a reason for me to invest in that type of game. But I'm definitely wondering.
I could see it.
I'm definitely wondering because like everyone's very excited for this game, but isn't Turtle Rock's last game, wasn't it Evolve, and didn't that do really poor?
Yes.
So maybe temporary expectations in that regard.
But if I remember correctly, like they are made up of a lot of the original Left 4 Dead team, so maybe it's better that they're coming back into a wheelhouse they're familiar with than trying to. Because I'm going to be entirely honest, as much as I love the idea of asymmetric multiplayer, I don't think we have had a single asymmetric multiplayer game that has done exceedingly well outside of Dead by Daylight.
True. Very true.
It's very hard to balance and get right.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely is. And plus, a lot of the times you'll get people who just quit because they want to be either the big bad thing or they want to play a certain character.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, and
Played
that'll kill queue times.
Yeah, I never played Dead by Daylight. I have friends who are big into it, but it's weird. Tetris Effect had a mode that's basically asymmetric multiplayer, where you're 3 players playing against a boss Tetris entity, and I've experienced that, where you go into the lobby and if you don't get the boss character, people just leave. So
yeah,
be interesting to see.
The big thing for me with Back for Blood though is, I think, as weird as it is to say, like, and as long as it has been, I think we are still in a period of fatigue when it comes to zombie games.
Yeah. I feel like that's just the state of affairs now, like, because we're not going to take a worldwide break on zombie games and then get a love for it again. It's just like, I think, a personal thing. We just need to let go of zombie games for a while and then come back. But
yeah, well, and like, especially with Call of Duty, when like, what percentage of the Call of Duty fan base literally says nowadays, I only play it for zombies?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a good few, at least a good few.
Yeah, I would say a majority of the player base, probably.
Mm-hmm. Coming up on the 15th is Crisis Remastered Trilogy, developed and published by Crytek.
Can it run Crisis?
From Crisis.
Not coming out in PS5, not coming out in Series X, at least at launch. These are old-gen games. These are last-gen versions of Crisis. Mm-hmm. Really weird choice.
Okay, yeah.
You'll obviously be able to play it via backwards compatibility. It might run a bit better, but this is not native next-gen stuff we're looking at, which I feel like is a missed opportunity because, Crisis used to be the benchmark. So, yeah. Also, didn't Crytek get bought by someone? But I can't remember who. Maybe it was Tencent. Anyway.
I can't
Tencent's
remember.
been buying a lot of people.
Yeah.
Do they have the money for that anymore, though?
Right, yeah. Tencent is...
They are hurting.
By someone. Crytek. Oh, so, okay, they were going to be bought by Tencent, but I guess that fell through. Or at least didn't happen. So, okay. They're still they're in studio for now. Making Crisis again. Then also on the 15th, we have Demon Slayer, the Hinokami Chronicles. Nailed it. I feel like ever since Dragon Ball FighterZ, every anime game
it's never enough anymore.
Well, it's never enough anymore, but I feel like when I saw anime games in the past, it was very clear,
they looked different.
This is gonna suck. This looks so bad. Now, like, we're pretty close to just games looking straight up anime. And like, this is an example where I'm like, it's not Dragon Ball FighterZ, but by God, it looks pretty good.
So animations are getting better, but like, I had to make sure that I knew what this was, which, gonna be honest, I saw Demon Slayer and I was like, okay, it's an anime game. I know what it's gonna be. And I went and I looked up the trailer, and yes, it's what I thought it was gonna be. This is Bandai Namco standard anime arena fighter, where just go watch the show.
Yeah.
Like, you, as many times as I have replayed the story of Dragon Ball, that's all these games ever are, is replay the story with animation that doesn't look as good as the story, and they all play fundamentally the same.
Right. Yeah, I definitely looked at this and I thought, while it looks good, it's not something that's like, I need to find and play this. I still have yet to watch the Demon Slayer anime, so if I get that urge, that's what I'm going to do first.
Yeah, like, and, you know, as kids, we all bought these games. So I don't bash on children for buying these games, but I definitely know that, like, my youngest nephew, definitely has bought into a couple of the My Hero Academia games, which are the exact same thing. And he's bought a couple of the Naruto games, and like, he's young enough that it doesn't register to him that like these are all literally just the same game with characters having slightly different powers.
Yep.
But like, I'm just waiting for all the people that play these games to get bit by the fighting game bug.
Yes. Then
and learn what it feels like. Yeah, and learn what it feels like to like actually do cool shit and not just see shit that looks cool.
Right. On the 22nd is the Dark Pictures Anthology House of Ashes edition.
So I feel like I remember House of Ashes, but I do not remember the rest of that title.
So, the latest thing I think we would have seen at this game was the Gamescom pre-show, where they announced there was going to be a figure based on the monster, which was supposed to be a secret in the earlier trailers, but because they were coming out with this collector's edition, they had to show you what the monster looked like. I feel like the good part of this is it's just in time for Halloween, but like for me, the Dark Pictures Anthology, at least other than like the second one, which I can't remember the name of, hasn't really hit. So I'm interested to see if
Little Hope.
Little Hope, yeah. Man of Medan definitely didn't take off. Little Hope, I feel like, got a little bit more traction. So I feel like this is kind of make or break for this anthology, however long it goes.
Yeah, I've heard of Man of Medan. I always get this confused with the other game that's in a very similar style, Until Dawn.
Yes.
I always get this, this whole anthology, I get confused with Until Dawn.
Right.
Because they're both like multi-part anthologies with like different pieces, and it's so confusing to me.
Interested to see if that does well. On the 26th, I am bracing myself for Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. That is the best way I can describe my feelings for that game.
Yeah, that is like, as much as it looks like something to look forward to, it is a game that I will wait till reviews hit to touch.
Definitely
wait and see on that one.
Same with Back for Blood. Like, I'm like, in all honesty, like, as much as I know everyone's been loving Deathloop, I'm probably not even going to buy Deathloop yet. Mm-hmm. Just because if I get it, I probably want to get it on PC.
Okay.
And with that in mind, the PC version has had a very rocky release because of de novo and just all sorts of other issues with frame rates and just, fairly standard when things were obviously made for consoles and then kind of lacklusterly ported to the PC.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think I have two main concerns when it comes to Guardians of the Galaxy. One, like, the combat looks pretty solid, but is it going to be interesting enough to last the duration of the game is something unsure about from what we saw. And also, is the banter going to get tiring 30 minutes
stale
into this game?
Yeah.
This game is make or break based on its banter. I don't know, man. Can it last?
Hey, I mean, there is one thing that I can say I will play that game for. Like, even if I have to wait for it to go down in price, there's one thing that I will probably play that game for. The soundtrack.
I thought you were going to say the dog.
Because that soundtrack's going to be good.
Yeah, I'm excited for that part of it, for sure. On the 26th is a game I should be excited for, but I'm not. And that is Solar Ash, developed by Heart Machine, published by Annapurna. Heart Machine previously made Hyper Light Drifter as their debut game, a game which I hold very fondly in my heart.
I still actually, like, as long as we've been doing this and as many times as I've heard the name, I actually don't think I really ever knew what Hyper Light Drifter was, because it never came into my peripheral, really.
Yeah, it's just like a top-down.
But Solar Ash looks interesting.
Souls-ish game, but Solar Ash looks very interesting to the point of I don't know if I'll like it, because it looks so unique in a way that might not gel with me,
Yeah.
And
Go ahead.
I want to be a little bit honest here. Every time we've seen the trailers and the gameplay stuff on all of our times that has been shown when we've reacted to it, the game actually kind of hurts my eyes.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. I don't think it presents itself well, or as well.
Well, I think he means from the color grading.
Mm-hmm. From the color grading and stuff like that. It's not... I'm not trying to say this is going to be a bad game because it looks bad. I'm just saying, to me, all the color grading and the swirls and the woozies.
Because you're in the camp that, like, you couldn't watch No Game, No Life because that anime has, like, such a starkly bright like almost neon color palette.
I can watch No Game No Life. That's the issue. I've watched it. It just comes from, I believe, in this game, the colors and the movement are giving me the effect similar to that I have in Warframe.
So like motion sickness and whatnot, almost. Okay.
Yeah, which is weird because I play a lot of different games that usually give people motion sickness, but don't give me motion sickness.
It's I'd be wondering then if you would be like good with Hyperlight Drifter, because there is a lot of similarities between those two art styles and like in terms of motion and animation, but because it's 2D pixel art, I think it's a little easier to digest.
It's grounded.
And also that's worth noting that they have gone from 2D pixel art top-down game to full 3D, lots of movement going on. So
big
it's
jump.
A big step up for an indie studio, for sure. So we've seen that go wrong before. So I'm hesitant, but at least the one game track record is something that I can put some faith into this game for. On the 28th is a game I will for sure not play at lunch, but glad that it's coming out, is Age of Empires 4. Age of Empires is something I was very into growing up and then fell out of hard. And yeah, like this is not something I need to play on day one, but is going to be something that is like on the shelf. And when I get that urge, I just pull it right down, load up Game Pass, and go head first into it. Can't wait. Then on that same day, we have Fatal Frame Maiden of Blackwater, just in time for Halloween, folks.
Yep.
Fatal Frame is great. I'm glad we're seeing more of it.
It's not even more. It's just a remaster from the Wii U.
I was unclear of this. This is a remaster, not a new game.
Yes.
Right.
Well, the thing is, it may be a remaster, but how often do we really get a Fatal Frame game anymore?
Right.
And on top of that, it was a Wii U game, so how many people got it in the first place?
Yeah. Completely blindsided that direct when Fatal Frame showed up.
I love me some Fatal Frame. That's the reason why this game is getting my nod, is mostly because it has a unique horror mechanic to it. You defeat the ghosts by taking pictures of them.
Mm-hmm. Like Pokemon
and,
Snap,
you have certain Pokemon Snap, but horror creatures. Yeah. It's great.
Yeah. Also on the 28th, just in time for Halloween, Riders Republic.
We can just skip Broham Nation, right?
No, we can't skip Broham Nation. There's a lot of riding on this game. No pun intended.
The Broham Nation.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot to say about this game other than I might try it.
The big chatty.
This is a big chatty game for sure.
Just go play Freak Style on the PS2.
Yeah, right.
SSX tricky.
Well, no, because like Freak Style at least had like actual motocross people from that age, but it was basically like Freak Style was legit if you made a motocross game with Tony Hawk in mind.
Okay.
So you actually had like the point system with like the trick name extensions at the bottom. Like it was fun.
Yeah.
Like I don't it hits a weird spot. It hits that same spot as a lot of these kinds of games, actually, like the FIFAs and the NBAs and whatnot, where like, why don't you just go do it? And I understand more with this, like, yes, it's extreme sports.
Yeah.
You don't want to go get hurt.
Not many people have access to a wingsuit and mountains on a dime,
Yeah. But, like, where's, like, the arcadiness? Where's, like, the game, like, fun element to it that isn't just
right
kind of a generic racer?
I feel like that died immediately after the PS2 era. I feel like the PS2 era was chock full of that, and then it just everyone wants to be realistic now for no real reason.
Yep.
But I don't want to rag on Riders Republic because I'm not going to buy this at lunch. But if there's like a half price sale, or inevitably this game shows up in 3 or 4 months' time as a PS Plus benefit, I'll absolutely dive headfirst into this. Or on Game Pass, absolutely, I'll dive into this. On the 28th, just in time for Halloween, folks, Voice of Cards, The Isle of Dragon Roars. This is the Yoko Taro game that we saw recently at Direct that has a demo out and I haven't played yet, but I need to play that demo. But I like card mechanics, and this looks like a weird card mechanic game.
I'm interested. It very much like when you get into combat, it's very like Hearthstone / Magic the Gathering. Mm-hmm. But I think you only get like 3 card hands. And other than that, like it plays like a pretty bog standard RPG, but like even the way the map is done is in cards. Mm-hmm. So like as you move along the map, cards will flip over to create more area for you to go along and whatnot. It's pretty interesting to see, and I don't know if I'll buy it right out the gate, but it's definitely like on my radar for a keep in mind kind of thing.
Yeah.
I've said it so many times before. I'm burnt out on card-based RPGs ever since Bat and Kaitos.
Fair enough. Maybe you guys would know more about this than me. Why is Yoko Taro making a card game?
Because it's Yoko Taro.
All right, fair enough. We'll move on. And then on the 29th, just in time for Halloween, is Mario Party Superstars.
Hey, now the nerds will have a reason to get together and get drunk and party on Halloween.
Or not, because this has online multiplayer. But yes, you absolutely should play this on your couch alongside people. Fair enough, yeah, this would be a great Halloween party for people who, like me, don't like Halloween parties. Just bring the friends over, dress up as Mario characters. Why not? You know?
Yeah. Hell, you could do that over a Discord call.
You could. You absolutely could. And we might. But Mario Party Superstars, yeah, I never had a lot of Nintendo consoles growing up, so I missed a lot of the great Mario Party hits. So I'm glad we're trying to put as much as we can into one big package and lets me experience things like Bowser's Big Blast, you know? Like, give me the greatest hits album. So I'm excited for that. And that is all we have to cover in October 2021. And that's all we have for you this episode. Thank you for sticking with us. If this is your first time and you like what you heard, consider giving us a good rating on the podcast service of your choice. Or if you're watching the video version on YouTube, we'd appreciate you giving us a subscribe. And let us know in the comments what your favorite video game monster is. If you want more from Now to Play, you can head over to our social channels. Just search Now to Play Games and you're sure to find us. Till next time, I've been Finn. Thanks to Tim Keith for joining me on this episode, and we will see you all in November.
See you guys.
Goodbye.